You can't tell the backside of one horse from another unless you're an absolute expert. So, no, seriously.
Oh, dear.
Transfer fees up. Season tickets up. High prices up. Why the bloomin' heck are you still up?
Topical sport and debate worth staying awake for. The Two Mics.
All night long.
On Talk Sport.
All night long.
Look at the light.
Look at the time, by the way.
Hang on a sec. I want to talk about these raccoons. I'm telling you, within 5 years, it'll be absolutely standard practice to take your dog to the dog optician.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics, and I'm delighted to say it's time to issue a very, very warm welcome and a very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike, and good to see you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you in good shape after the weekend.
I'm in very good shape, yeah. Except my throat is still slightly scratchy, I'd have to say.
But you know what that is, don't you?
I can't shake off this ridiculous sort of cold that I think one of my kids gave me.
It's not a cold. What it is.
What do you think it is then?
Well, excess bladderation.
No, nothing to do with that.
No, it does. Let me tell you.
Absolutely nothing to do with that.
It can play on your vocal cords.
No,
I know this because
incorrect.
Only 1/3 of my heart works, which means I have to be particularly careful about the input of alcohol in case
right?
it affects my vocal
Really?
cords. And
how much did you say you had to drink over the weekend?
Oh, very little.
Really?
Very little.
Very
indeed.
little?
Yeah, very little.
Because the last time I saw you, funnily
Yes.
enough, was Saturday.
Yes.
When I left you, Everton were 1-0 up against Watford.
They were. Yes.
Goodness me, how that changed.
No.
Over the course of the next hour and a bit.
It did unfortunately change.
Yeah.
But anyway, tonight...
I'd say there's a crisis at Everton, wouldn't you?
Well, no. I would not say
there
it's a
is.
crisis.
I would
Everton are
say-
ninth in the table. That's not crisis territory at all.
Yeah, but I mean, a couple of weeks ago, they were sixth, weren't they?
We were third at one point of the season.
Yeah, so it's all going horribly wrong. So actually, you're moving down the table by factors of 3.
No.
So next you'll be 12th.
No, not at all.
Yeah, you will.
Not at all. You know.
Well, you're not going to beat
well.
Arsenal tomorrow night, are you?
How do you know that?
Tonight, I should say.
How do you know that?
How do I know that?
Yeah.
Because I know about football, and I know that Everton will not beat Arsenal.
Okay.
I'm quite willing to stake quite a lot of money on it.
Right, well, I don't know that Everton will not beat Arsenal
Really?
because football is completely unpredictable. If we could all predict football, then I would have won the football pools a long time ago.
Some people can predict football, it's just that you can't.
And I think
you predicted Everton would beat Watford.
And by the way, I see that my comment last week, and it wasn't even my comment, I didn't even say it, I said that John Lennon once said, if everybody asked for peace instead of asking for a new television, we'd have peace. And a lot of people have picked me up on that and think it's my expression. It's not. I'm not stealing a John Lennon quote. That's what John Lennon said.
Well, it's not like you to not attribute a quote to the person who originally made it.
Well, now I've got people sending me all sorts of tweets and things saying that, I went down to Comet or wherever it is, or what's the other place that sells loads of tellies? Curry's, that's
Comet
right.
even still going?
I don't know.
I think they've shut it down.
I think they have, actually, yeah. And he said, I was going to get my wife a television for Christmas, I decided to get her some peace instead. I mean, that's in John Lennon's...
I'll tell you what else has been going mad over the weekend. It's the Jay Rayner backlash.
It's wonderful,
has begun again.
It's wonderful.
In earnest. I mean, I'm talking about something that happened, back in April or May of this year?
Yes.
And Jay Rayner, for his sins, has been back in the news because he attacked some woman who runs a sort of catering company in a part of London which he frequents or lives in or something.
Yeah.
And he's put out a rather sarcastic tweet having a go at the fact that she was leaving a load of rubbish outside the place where she makes all her food.
Yeah.
Turns out she was recycling stuff, and she sends
under
him
the
a tweet
instructions
back.
of the local authority.
Under the instructions of the local, she says this is how they like us to leave it outside the shop. So, of course, quite a lot of our fans who've been blocked by him, because he blocks more people than I think he follows, right?
Yes.
Started just sending him more tweets, so he's now been blocking dozens and dozens more people.
I know. We'll have to pick up on that during the course of the week. I mean, he is another one who really should have accorded to the Lennon message of peace.
Yeah.
Give peace a chance. Because
Exactly.
the other guy who's accorded to it is the leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn. Have you seen his Christmas card?
Oh no.
I mean, it's about 50 years out of it's about 50 years out of date. Well, to start sending, the leader of the main opposition party in Britain and your initiative for Christmas is,
Is he sending one to President Assad of Syria?
That's right, the dove of peace. Yeah. I'm sending out cards with the dove of peace.
Peace, man.
If everybody...
He hasn't even got peace in the Labour Party.
He's got war in the Labour Party. This is the whole point.
They came last in that by-election.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but this is the way politicians think. I know, I've got a great idea.
Yeah.
If I send everybody a peace card for Christmas, could have world peace by January.
Well, I suppose it's better than sending everybody a card with a great big missile launcher on it.
Yeah, of course it is. But, just
you've got to admire his optimism.
Shows the naivety.
Did you get a Christmas card from Jeremy Corbyn? Is that why you're telling me?
All politicians. No. I only get Christmas cards from
Benazir Bhutto, right?
Benazir Bhutto.
You're going to get one from her this year?
I got one from Mrs. Thatcher.
What, this year?
Not this year, of course, because she's dead.
She's been dead for years.
But when she was in power and she was Prime Minister, Mrs. Thatcher sent me a Christmas card.
I used to get them from Tony Blair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, are you going to show us one?
I fucking find it.
Sorry?
I fucking find it. I don't really think I kept it, to be honest.
Really?
No, I don't really keep Christmas cards.
Well, you get a Christmas card from the Prime Minister, you don't keep it?
No, why would I?
I don't believe you got one.
Well, I don't care whether you believe I've got one.
Yeah, I got one from Mrs. Thatcher.
I'll tell you what I have got. I've got a picture of me having dinner with him. I can bring you that.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
I've got a picture of me and Tony Blair. In Downing Street.
No, but your pictures are all you sort of, nosing up to somebody when you're not supposed to be in the picture. Like somebody sent out a great picture, for example, of Joan Collins with A.A. Gill, where she's actually got her arm around him. She's obviously enjoying the moment. Whereas the one where she's pictured with you on that mock-up front page, right, which for all I know may be a mock-up photograph.
No, it's not.
You're sort of, standing to the side, looking very much as if you're just serving her a drink.
That was at our editor's 50th birthday
So describe
party.
the scene where you and Tony Blair are together.
I had to go to Downing Street as part of a football forum.
Oh, really?
To discuss the future of football in this country.
Is it any wonder the football business in this country is in a mess?
What?
So you were part of the future of football?
Yes, I was.
And what year was this?
This was, let me see, it was round about 90... No, it could have been... 90.
You don't even know now.
Hang on. I
How many times have you been to Downing Street?
I think it was 1999.
99?
99.
So were you working for the FA then?
No, I wasn't. I was part of a football think tank.
What football think tank?
Well, I was on a committee which set up the Football Hall of Fame.
The Football Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Oh, what, the place in Manchester?
No, actually, we had one in London.
In London?
Yes.
And what happened to it?
Well... it got reconstructed.
It got shut down,
so to speak. No.
It went bankrupt.
And as a result of being a part of this,
who else was involved in this Football
Foundation?
Hall of Fame?
Jeff Hurst. Sir Jeff Hurst.
Is he still involved with it?
No.
No. Was this a commercial venture?
It was a commercial venture.
Really? So who put the money into it?
A newspaper group.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Which one?
Mr. Desmond's group, the Daily Express. But in those days, by the way, I have to exonerate Mr. Desmond because he normally makes good investments.
He does, yeah. How did you manage to convince him to make such a bad one?
No, he wasn't owner at the time. The owner at the time was the Lord.
Oh, was it Clive Hollick?
Clive Hollick,
yeah,
Lord Hollick,
my old mate.
Is that right? Yeah.
So the man who asked me why there were no women in senior positions in the department that I was running.
Really?
Yeah, that was his only question.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, at the time, if you remember, Lord Hollick also had a company which did exhibitions all around the world. Do you remember?
In fact, it was very profitable.
Very profitable indeed. So they thought they'd take on what they call what do they call these things? Not exhibition, but it's a
sort of
attraction. It's called an attraction.
Right.
It's like a theme park type thing, but it was a football.
Well, how did you get involved with them?
I don't know. He rang me up and said, "Look,
what were you doing at the time?"
At the time, what was I doing?
Were you between engagements?
I think I was.
So you're sure that because you were in between engagements, you didn't ring him? No, and go and see him and convince him that this was a great idea.
No, not at all.
Which he then fell for.
No, not at all. That's what
it sounds like to me.
I was in what you might call a resting period between, actually, funny enough, between the worlds of newspaper journalism and broadcasting.
Really?
Yes. Right. And really, Lord Hollick spoke to me about the possibility.
I still don't get how he would have rung you up.
Well, he didn't directly. He was one of his people, of course, you know. But, I mean, the point is he was head of the company and he decided he wanted a big hitter to try and get this project off the ground.
Right, so he got Jeff Hurst. So where did you come in?
Got to Jeff Hurst. Well, I was director of operations. So, what's your problem?
And how long did this adventure last?
Well, it went on for some time. I left, because I set it up, I got it going, it was very successful. Then I had to move back into journalism.
What defined success?
Well, there were people queuing up down the street to get into
this. To do what?
To see the football museum that we'd created.
And where was it?
It was at County Hall.
Oh, yeah.
You know the County Hall building?
I do, yeah. It's now a hotel. It's just where the aquarium is now. The aquarium's there.
Well, no, actually, if you go into the hotel, you go into the archway and you go into the central square where there's a circular hedge type thing, you know what I mean? To go into the Marriott Hotel.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's on the right, opposite the Diana Princess of Wales Trust.
Oh, yeah.
So I was in good company, you know what I mean?
It's not there anymore.
No, I mean, after I left and said, right, there, I've got it up and running for you, now, run with it.
You just decided to abandon it?
No, I didn't abandon it.
Because you were made a better offer?
No.
Well, presumably you were.
Well, I was made a better offer, actually, but I mean, it was only a very short-term appointment anyway.
Was it?
But
sounds a whopping great success. Yeah. I wish I'd been to see it.
Oh, really?
What sorts of exhibitions did you have in there?
We had waxwork models of footballers. Sorry, why do you find that amusing?
Because it's the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard. How have I never known about this?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps you never asked me before.
What else did they have apart from waxwork models?
We had some genuine 1975 TVs.
Genuine television.
Yeah.
Excellent.
With genuine 1975 pictures on them because we were doing the history of football.
Well, didn't you have to pay for the footage?
And but not much. And a genuine.
So you didn't have the World Cup, obviously.
Well, I've got to tell you about it in a minute. And a genuine chopper bike, from the 1970s.
A chopper bike.
Yeah, a chopper bike.
What's that got to do with football?
Well, it was to demonstrate the era.
Sounds like a right dog's dinner.
It was to demonstrate the era and.
Did you have any bottles of Corona?
No, I've just remembered.
To go with it. No, so this is actually an exhibition in sort of homage to your childhood.
No, not at all. Not at all. We also had, because the budget started running out, right? So
I'm surprised.
So this is quite funny.
You were spending most of it in the bar.
This artist was brought in to construct this huge white horse made of fiberglass, right? Yeah. And the reason was,
a white horse made of fiberglass.
Yes, because it was going to demonstrate the first game at Wembley in 1923, the 1923 Cup final. Remember?
Was a white horse? No, of course I remember.
Yeah, it was called the White Horse Final.
I didn't know that
because the white horse on which a policeman had to control crowds of 140,000 in a stadium designed for 100,000 people, and it was known as the White Horse Final.
Was it? Well, I didn't know. Yeah, that.
Well, you should know your football history. Anyway, what happened was,
what
happened was, the budget ran out. And they could only build half the horse. So they built the back half of the horse, stuck it against a wall.
Right.
So
it's the horse's arse, literally.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was it.
I'm amazed it didn't work. What a fantastic tale. This is Mike Porky Parry's History of Football. We'll have some more of that coming up very shortly. We are the Two Mikes.
The Two Mikes. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. Coming up, we're going to speak to Tim Vickery over in Brazil in a little while. We'll talk about Jurgen Klopp and whether he's lost the plot altogether by having to go at the Neville brothers.
Well, has he?
Well, I don't know why he's having to go at the Neville brothers.
I think he's only defending his own goalkeeper. I quite admire him for it, to be honest.
Well, he's got this image of being Mr. Nice Guy, hasn't he? And he hasn't been very nice about the Neville brothers. So,
they haven't been very nice about his goalkeeper.
Yeah, well, his goalkeeper's not very good.
Yeah, well, OK.
If you're a football manager and you don't like the idea that people are going to criticise you, then maybe you shouldn't be a football manager. Well, I've always been very supportive of Jurgen Klopp. I think he's a great guy. Yeah. But I think he's got to be a bit more thick-skinned, to be honest.
No, I think he's got every right to hit back. And what was interesting is he didn't actually lash out at Jamie Carragher, because Jamie Carragher actually said, that the goalkeeper's not good enough to play for Liverpool, and is sort of making sounds about Mignolet coming back. And, of course, Mignolet was supposed to have been history at Liverpool, but may not be now. No, I admire Klopp for doing it.
You're now involving yourself in what would be called a sort of reverse pass, aren't you? Because here I am expecting you to attack Jurgen Klopp, which you normally attack Liverpool just because you're an Everton fan.
No, I don't.
And obviously now you're not doing it.
No, honestly.
When there's an opportunity to do it.
No. Well, the point is, what I'm saying is, if you can dish it out like the Nevilles do, because that's their job on a Monday night, it's Gary's job to dish it out. It's Phil's job to comment as and when he's employed to do so. That's fine, and I enjoy every word that they utter. But in return, if you're dishing it out, you've got to be able to take it. So
you can.
If Klopp wants to turn around and say, look, you weren't very good, I'm afraid, at Valencia, so do you know what you're talking about? And then, funny enough, Gary Neville's taken it in the right spirit, because he's put out a tweet tonight, hasn't he, saying, I'm not a chef, but I know when a steak is good and not.
Well, easy for him to say. I wonder if he said that to the people at Valencia before they hired him, but that's another story altogether.
Yes.
Now, amazingly, Peter on Twitter has found an article about your Hall of Fame.
Who has?
Peter Stemple has tweeted at the Two Mikes. It's a piece from The Guardian, funnily enough, written on Saturday, the 12th of June, 1999.
Oh, there you go, 1999.
Football's coming home to a new Hall of Fame.
Well, there you go.
And it says here, organisers estimate that about 10,000 people a week, many from abroad, will visit the Hall of Fame in County Hall.
Yes.
How many did actually visit?
About that number, I suppose. No, about that number, I suppose.
Were you there for the opening?
Yeah, of course I organised the opening.
You organised the opening?
Yeah.
Really? Who'd you get along to it?
Opening party. Gary Lineker, actually.
Gary Lineker?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Jeff Hurst, presumably, was on the payroll.
Jeff Hurst was there. Gary Lineker. Yeah, lots of big names.
For £9.95 for adults and £6.50 for children. A lot of money in 1999.
Yes.
Visitors will be able to see waxworks of 12 of the Premier League's leading footballers.
That's right.
And visit exhibits outlining the history of English football.
That's right.
Ranging from its heyday in the 1960s to exhibits on the origins of the game in medieval times.
That's right.
That must have been one of yours.
Medieval
football.
What we had is we had a mechanical.
Look, there's a quote from Mike Parry.
What does it say?
Spokesman from the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
This is brilliant.
Great.
A series of interactive exhibits will be on display, including a virtual stadium and the chance to have your photo taken standing in the lineup of your favourite team.
That's right.
Says Mike Parry, it's a celebration of football through the ages, and a Hall of Fame has come at a time when English football is more popular than ever. Initial surveys have shown that we will get lots of visitors from abroad. Did you?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. People came over from Norway and all sorts of places. Yes, that's right. The Norwegians.
Yeah, it says
the Vikings.
Mr. Parry continued. The Hall of Fame could come to rival other tourist attractions in the country, and it will become a spiritual home to football. When did it shut? When did it shut?
I think it was in the year 2000.
So it didn't last a year then?
Well, I'm not sure. But I mean,
Fantastic.
it wasn't my business plan. It was just my job to make it work, and I did. Then I left, and then it didn't work.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
So you're saying after you left, that was the end of it?
Well, it was actually, yeah, funnily enough. That's exactly what happened,
Okay.
Without my vision and without my drive. And,
well done for doing such a good thing for the game of football.
Well, that's right, exactly, yeah. One of the other things we had was the medieval thing, right? We had this, mechanical footballer, a medieval footballer.
Was he on the back of the horse's arse?
No, on the back of the horse's arse, no. This guy sort of kept popping his head out of a sort of a medieval house like this. And,
This sounds horrendous.
Yeah, and talking about football. And, of course, he waved round a pig's bladder all the time on the end of a stick. You know what I mean? Because that's what they used to play football with.
And Lord Hollick thought this was all great, did he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
This guy Parry's really on the ball.
And we had a scene from. Oh, this is great. You remember the famous game of football on Christmas Day in the trenches in 1916?
Yeah.
You remember it?
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes, I do remember. That's a very famous game.
Yeah, very famous game.
Well, of course I don't remember the horse's arse in the first.
Well, I don't know how.
What was it? The first World Cup? Did you say?
No, the first FA Cup final.
The first FA Cup final.
Bolton Wanderers versus 1923, 2-0. Bolton Wanderers. And there's a very famous white horse. It was called the White Horse Final.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in 1916. In Pries, that's spelt Ypres.
Ypres.
Yeah, Ypres, or Pries, as they pronounce it.
No, they don't pronounce it Pries anywhere. Ypres.
Anyway, so the soldiers get out of the trenches, start playing football against each other.
Yeah.
And, of course, a very historic
occasion. A lot of Scottish soldiers, funnily enough, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there were. That's right. So
there's a depiction of it in Oh, What a Lovely War. Did you ever see that film?
That's right. No, I haven't, no. But, so we had a waxwork model of a First World War soldier in the trenches, writing home to his son, hey, lad.
Do you not think you went down the wrong road on this exhibit?
Hey, lad, look after your mother if I don't come back from this terrible war experience and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
God.
So it was
Sounds a bit grim.
It was all, yeah. Now, you got back to the World Cup.
You've got a medieval guy sticking his head out of a door, waving a pig's bladder around.
Right,
You've got a guy in a trench
that's right,
about to be massacred by machine gun
Germans,
fire. You've got the back of a horse's arse.
That's right, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And a couple of waxworks.
Some waxworks, yeah, and a picture of Kevin Keegan on a 1975 television, to make out.
With the 75 hair.
Yes, that's right, yeah. And by the way, and on the other television was the advert for the Yorkie bar.
Oh, great.
The lorry driver.
And let's not forget the chopper.
Yeah, and the chopper, yeah. The lorry driver who leaned out of the window of the lorry with his Yorkie bar, But no, where it went a bit wrong was because you just said about the World Cup and all that.
Yeah.
So, having my connections at the Football Association, all that.
So you'd been at the FA already, by the
time?
Yeah,
I'd been at the FA, yeah. Right. That's one of the reasons why I was taken on, for my, knowledge and insight and experience.
Yeah.
So,
not least about medieval history.
So, and we had to Jeff Hurst. So, of course, I ring up this guy at FIFA who used to work at the FA with me. I can't remember his name now, but he was a half-bake. And I said...
Maybe he's now one of the elderly white men that's working there.
He's not actually, no. And I said, hello, whatever his name was. I said, look, we just want to borrow a 30-minute clip of Jeff Hurst's... third goal, the hat-trick goal in the.
They think it's all over.
That's right. Yeah, no, we'll come on. He said, "Yeah, okay, fine." I said, "Great, $25,000."
For how much?
For 30 seconds.
Really?
Yeah.
Because didn't they use it on one of the Skinner and Baddiel shows? as part of the opener.
I don't know. Did they
think it's all over? Did they not? I think they did.
They might have done. I don't
think it was as long as 30 seconds. Maybe they got it for a bit cheaper.
Exactly, yeah, or whatever. It might have been a compilation of his 3 goals or something. You know what I mean? But anyway, it's $25,000, and of course it was ridiculous. And then we didn't have it in the end. But anyway, there we are.
Yeah. Well, James says this: Porky's history of football budget ran out. I wonder why. Yeah. Money well spent on the bladderation cabinet, no doubt.
Well, and, there was a bit of that, I have to say. Certainly on the first night. Anyway.
Niall says this: I remember going to this football museum, and even as a teen, I was very underwhelmed, and it was overpriced.
Well, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? Bit harsh.
And Peter says, Porky, I think the estimated attendance for the White Horse final ranged from 225,000 to 300,000.
It wasn't that many.
The photos of the match are incredible.
Yeah, it wasn't that many. It was about 140,000, 150,000, I think, in the end. But you've got to remember, there was no roof on Wembley in those days.
No.
There was hardly any sort of entrances and exits, so people just flooded in, and there were no buildings around the edge, so it looked like a lot of people, but it was about 150,000, 160,000.
All right.
Yeah.
So who did you get to make the waxworks, anyway?
Well, I tell you what was interesting. I tell you, one of them was Ian Wright.
Oh, yeah.
Righty.
Yes.
Now, we saw Righty the other night, if you remember.
Indeed, yeah.
We went to a reception in the Shard, and Righty and I reminisced on the Champions League final that we were at in Athens. But before that, Righty had gone to play for West Ham, and you gave him this very formal letter. You've been inducted into the Football Hall of Fame, you know. And then a guy goes up with all these strips of plasticine, really, and put them all over his body. And to get a mould, and then that goes back to his factory, and then they shape her face and her head and all that. It's very
it'd be clay, I suppose, wouldn't it?
The clay, yeah, that's right. But
it would have to harden, and then they can pour the mould into it.
That's absolutely right. But and they were incredibly expensive to make, but they were beautiful figures. They really were. Peter Schmeichel made one of his, and I think he bought his when it closed down.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah, I think. I mean, they're very high quality, and there was great aspirations for it all. But in the end, there wasn't the appetite for it. And do you know why? Because what we had...
Well, maybe they didn't like the medieval bloke and the guy in the trench.
They didn't. And you're absolutely right, because when young kids came in, there was a route, it was a bit like IKEA. You could only go round one way, you see what I mean?
Right.
But the very last place in the virtual stadium had the electronic games by EA Sports, okay?
Yeah.
And the kids just used to run through.
Yeah.
They missed the medieval bit, they missed the First World War, they missed the 1923 horse, they missed Jeff Hurst's goal, they just wanted to get the machines.
Yeah.
And so in the end, what they should have just done is just built a huge room full of electronic games, and then it would have worked.
But then it's not really a football museum.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that would be your one and only foray into sort of public service.
Well...
Shame it didn't work out.
Well, no. I did my bit for football, you know.
Really?
The history of
Becky says this: how does one interact with the back end of an unfinished white horse?
Well, that's very true.
Boggles.
It was. Well, you see, the thinking on that was, just to explain, it was the horse's rear which kept the crowd where they should have been. Do you see what I mean? The horse kept backing into them gently and nudging them away.
It sounds like a great idea on paper.
With his rear flanks, you see what I mean?
It doesn't sound like such a good idea.
So when we could only build half the horse, we said, well, should we build the front of the horse or the back of the horse? And I came up with the idea, well, I think the back would be better because that was the bit of the horse that actually was used for crowd control.
It was after lunch this decision was made. No, this would be great.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just have the arse of the medieval guy sticking out the door as well? Then you could have made it a double
that would have been
pair.
That would have been a bit offensive,
That's shocking. It would have been a bit offensive, yes. Apologies if anybody's offended by this conversation. Coming up, we'll be talking to Tim Vickery. Also, we're going to the Antarctic to find out what's going on with the climate. This is Talk Sport.
Yeah.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mikes. Don't forget you can tweet us at the Two Mikes, at Mike Parry, at IROMG, of course, as well. You can text us on 81089. Here's one from Scott. He says, I've heard that the White Horse model from Porky's Football Museum is currently starring in the Panto at Guildford.
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Very possible.
Yeah, there's another one here. The official number that attended the 1923 FA Cup final was 126,047. That comes from... 300,000 was the estimated attendance. I'm not sure where that comes from, but thank you for the information.
Well, thank you for reading that one out. It's very informative. A horse's arse and a chopper that hasn't been used since the 70s. Sounds more like a Porky museum. says the blue.
That is very, very harsh. I did my bit for the history and heritage of football, and I would like a bit more respect for it, please.
Porky's wrong again. The first FA Cup final was 1881.
Yes, I know.
Preston won it.
No, this was the first FA Cup final at Wembley.
At Wembley, yes.
The Wembley Stadium was built for the Olympic Games, wasn't it, or the World Games or something, and then converted into a football stadium very successfly.
Duncan says, I went to that footy museum. It was so bad, I think I cried.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you were probably crying at the fact that it's such greatness
maybe you couldn't get
thrust
near
upon you.
Maybe you couldn't get near the games console.
That's right. Yeah, could be. Now then, what about this situation involving Mr. Klopp and the Neville brothers? It's got lots and lots of space in tomorrow's papers.
Yeah.
And you, for some unknown reason, have taken the side of the Neville brothers. Why is that?
I have not taken the side of the Neville brothers.
Yeah?
I've said that I think Jurgen Klopp should be careful if he's, as a football manager, is going to take criticism badly. I mean, up to now, Jurgen Klopp has done everything absolutely perfectly, right? Yeah. Whenever anything's gone wrong, like when they lost to Bournemouth 4-3 in that thriller, he said, it's a fantastic result, fantastic game of football. He said, unfortunately for us, we were at the wrong end of it. He congratulated the Bournemouth players. He congratulated Bournemouth for winning the game. But he said, it doesn't make me very happy. And when someone said, how much is this going to cost you?
Yes.
He said, well, 3 points. Yeah. And it was almost like the perfect way to deal with that situation. Yeah. But after this latest game, this latest draw, he seems to have somehow sort of spun out of control, and he's now having a go back at the Neville brothers.
I don't think he has
which
control.
I think he's doing specifically because he knows of their association with Manchester United.
Well, I think he's just replying to criticism of one of his own players, and I think that's what a manager has to do.
Yeah, but as you pointed out, he hasn't criticised Jamie Carragher, has he?
No, he hasn't. And
doesn't that leave you with a slightly unusual taste in your mouth?
I don't know why he hasn't criticised Jamie Carragher, but what he said specifically about Gary Neville was Gary Neville went into football management,
yes,
and according to Klopp, who was a football manager, he was adjudged not to be good enough at selecting the right players. Now, Jamie Carragher has not gone into football management.
That's true.
Yeah.
But now, do you remember what I said to you at the time when Gary Neville did go into football management? I said that he will put at risk his incredible ability as a pundit because his punditry was excellent, right?
Yes,
one of the best pundits I think anybody's ever seen on football.
Yes.
He gave great explanations of things. He drew great diagrams. He told us stuff that nobody would ever have told us before.
Yeah.
And after he failed in Valencia, I said his punditry will now no longer be as valid as it was before.
Well,
this is what Klopp's saying.
No, well, that's what Klopp's saying.
That's what Klopp's saying.
Except that millions of people now who watch that actually find him as interesting and as riveting as he was before, and maybe even more now. Maybe even more now.
You say that, but obviously, if the people in the game are taking him less seriously because he's had a try at what they do and failed, then he's not in any way as influential.
Well, Mr. Klopp is not saying I take him less seriously. He's saying I don't agree with what he said.
Well, no,
he is taking him seriously.
No, he's taking him much less seriously because he's saying you don't know what you're talking about because I've seen your management skills and they're useless.
Yeah, but he's taking him very seriously from the fact that he's saying I have to respond in such a public way.
Well, so I wonder whether he's just trying to do a little bit of Jose Mourinho kind of smoke signals and try and put people off the scent of the fact that things are not going as well at Liverpool as they were 3 weeks ago.
When you drop 5 points out of 6, which is what Liverpool have done in the last 2 games, which should have been actually easy points. I mean, Bournemouth away, okay, no disrespect to Bournemouth, but if you
That's very hard on Bournemouth.
No, it is hard on Bournemouth, except that what I was going to
I thought people at Bournemouth were your friends.
What I was going to say is, they are. I was going to say is that if you expect to win the Premier League title, you have to expect to go to places like Bournemouth and get 3 points.
Yes.
Then when you're playing at home against a team which has struggled desperately in the early months of the season, that's West Ham, you should be expected to bang up 3 points. So to drop 5 points out of 6 to those two teams, that's finished off Liverpool's hopes of winning the Premier League title.
Finished them off.
It has.
But it certainly dealt them a blow.
Yeah.
No question about that. Mind you, Everton have dropped 6 points out of the last 6, haven't they?
Yeah, Everton have, but I mean, Everton didn't start the season in a position where they could say we could be real challengers for the Premier League this season. They were saying we can consolidate this season, and then let's see how good we can get next season.
I mean, it doesn't seem
and
that
that is
long
still
ago.
the position. It
doesn't seem that long ago since you were telling me about the dominance of the Merseyside teams in the Premier League.
Well, I thought they could be, and I still think they will be. And I'm not withdrawing from that. I just think it's going to take a little bit longer than we all thought.
OK. David says this. My earliest memories of this station was Porky being introduced as Mike Parry from the Premier League Hall of Fame.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh,
is that possibly true?
It could be possibly true, although I had associations with the predecessor of this station, which was Talk Radio.
When
I had, still moved or morphed, I should say, from newspaper journalist to broadcaster.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So was the Football Hall of Fame in between then?
Yeah, it was in between.
Oh, so maybe you did get on as a guest, because that's how most people start, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Get in on. That's how I started.
I'll tell you what happened.
Getting invited on to BBC Scotland to be a sort of pundit on various things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But funny enough, I
know you've got no interest in my radio career.
Not really. No.
There's no point feigning it.
No, I'm not going to. No, funny enough, actually, at our HQ at the Football Hall of Fame, the other reason, by the way, that it failed was the title of it was the FA, the Football Association Premier League Hall of Football Fame.
Really?
That was the title.
Well, it's a bit of a
very
mouthful.
Snappy, wasn't it? And I said, no, you just call it the Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So, well, no, you've got to endorse those who are behind it, the Premier League.
See, that's the trouble with these people. They have no idea of popularism, do
But anyway, we actually had a studio at the museum on my insistence.
Oh, what, like with an ISDN line in it?
Yes, that's right. And in fact, we did programmes from there for Talk Radio, as it was in those days.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So in some ways, this was a way of you getting yourself into radio.
Well, no, I'd already had an association with Talk Radio. I knew some of the investors, so to speak. You know what I mean? So, but it all came together in one.
And then it all fell apart.
When I left. Yeah. I
Andrew
couldn't
says
stick around forever.
It would seem Gary Neville has a short memory. De Gea didn't start off the best either.
No, he didn't. In fact, everybody was questioning why Sir Alex Ferguson had spent 30 million quid on him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it 30 million?
On De Gea?
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was something like that,
It's quite a lot of money, anyway.
Yes, it was,
to get him out of Madrid.
Yes, it was. Now, listen, just getting off the subject for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, last week I was rather unkind about giraffes.
Well, you weren't so much unkind as uncaring.
Well, yes, I suppose.
You basically said that they weren't worth saving as animals or as a sort of genus from being extinct because you couldn't get them to eat out of your hand.
Well, that's right, but I want to take that back now, actually, because I've been doing some research on giraffes, and in fact they are a very endangered species, and it's starting to worry me a lot. I mean, for instance, I found out that between 1985 and 2015, the number of giraffes in the world has declined from 155,000 to 97,000.
Yes. Well, I was telling you this the other day.
97,000. I mean,
but you weren't interested in the giraffes. You were only interested in the grey parrot, weren't you?
We've lost. Well, I'm very worried about the grey parrot as well. But we've lost 58,000 giraffes in just 30 years. I mean, that is horrendous.
And what's happening to them? Are they getting killed by poachers for their
killed
skin?
by poachers for their skin?
Yeah.
Now, giraffe skin is like the groovy in thing for people in wealthy parts of the world. You know that you will never have heard a giraffe communicate?
I don't think I have, no.
Do you know why that is?
No.
They do.
Because I've never been near one.
No, they do communicate with each other, but their vocal cords are so well developed, they make sounds too low for the human ear to hear.
Oh, is that right?
They make ultrasounds. You know, ultrasound.
Yeah, like a whale.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. The same sort of stuff, except whale does it in water, obviously, but they do it in air, so you can't hear it, okay?
Right.
And did you know...
It's a low frequency, then, or a high frequency?
Oh, very, very low.
Yeah.
Ultrasounds are what the...
Well, ultrasounds what they use in hospital as well to look at it to see what's going on inside a woman's womb.
Oh, and also what's going on with my heart, because it's called an echo. It's called an echo sounder, and they use like a it's like when you put a roll of deodorant on.
Yeah,
it's that sort of thing.
They use gel and everything, don't they?
They use gel. They get this roller ball, and they rub it over your heart.
Yeah, I've seen them doing it to a pregnant woman.
And but I'm talking about my heart.
I don't care about your heart. I don't want to think about what your heart, chest, whole area looks like.
And as I'm lying there, because of this brilliant sort of technology...
Is Dr. Banner that's doing this?
No, it's one of his assistants.
One of his able assistants?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I can actually see my heart pumping inside my body.
Really?
And I can see...
So you can see there's nothing wrong with it then?
No, I can see where it's gone wrong.
Really?
I can see how big and flabby it is compared to normal hearts, OK?
Right.
And that's all through the ultrasound,
is
OK?
That right? Well, how can you tell if it's not next to a normal heart, then?
Because my trained eye is able to determine.
I see.
But also, ultrasounds are the means of communication for submarines.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the order from the bunker in Downing Street...
What bunker?
The war bunker during the Falklands War.
You never actually did tell me what this picture of you and Tony Blair shows since you went in for the Football Hall of Fame thing.
Oh, it shows us meeting and greeting each other.
Meeting and greeting?
Yeah, but I'll show you. But anyway, the bunker in Downing Street issued the order, sink the Belgrano.
Yeah.
And that was then relayed to, a very tall mast in a place called Exeter in Western Australia.
Oh, yeah.
And from there, the operator sent the instruction to the skipper.
Was it in Morse code?
No, it wasn't. No, it was...
so did he know what it was then when he got it in Exeter?
Yes, because it was in code,
right.
And he had to pass it on to the skipper of HMS Conqueror, I believe.
But, so he wasn't able to decode it?
No, he couldn't decode it. He couldn't decode it. And HMS Conqueror, of course, was in the South Atlantic, beneath the waves, and he received the instruction.
Right.
So that was ultrasound.
Right.
Now, anyway, getting back to giraffes.
Was that the point of the story?
It was the point of the story.
I've lost the plot now.
No. Now, getting back to giraffes, right? Did you know that within half an hour of being born, and think of the size of a giraffe, a giraffe can stand up on its own.
Yes.
And after 10 hours, it can be running alongside its mother.
Yeah, I've seen footage of baby giraffes standing up for the first time.
Isn't that amazing?
It's quite incredible, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I've seen giraffes actually close up, and I say I haven't because if you drive around the outer circle of Regent's Park, you drive past the giraffe house.
Right, okay.
And even though you don't, you're supposed to pay to go in, you can see them all wandering about because their heads are so tall.
Well, do you know what? I've researched that as well. The first giraffes at London Zoo arrived in 1836. Uh-huh. They were kept in a specially built house designed by that world-famous architect, Decimus Burton.
No, I don't know him.
What?
I'm not someone I've heard of.
Decimus Burton?
Well, I'm surprised you didn't have an exhibition on this in the old Football Hall of Fame.
Well, why
would
you...
giraffes arriving from wherever they came
don't
from.
Don't be ridiculous. But anyway, the one...
Decimus
Burton, a very, very famous architect.
Really? What else did he build?
What else did he build? Well, quite a lot of buildings in
Decimus a nickname?
No, his name was Decimus Burton. He's a very famous architect.
I've never heard of that.
Well,
no, I've never heard of it as a name, though.
Oh,
Decimus.
I see. Yeah, what's his name? And the
Who are you?
Who are you? And the giraffe house you saw is that one. It's still standing.
One.
Still standing. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
From 1836.
What about the Goat Mountain? Is that the same one that they had then as well? She's now on the right-hand side as you go round the park.
I don't know anything about a goat
mountain. Don't know the Goat Mountain?
No.
Well, I used to live right by Regent's Park, and I used to take my daughter around it because you could see so much of it without having to pay to go in.
I couldn't care less about a goat mountain.
The Goat Mountain's great because you can look up and see the goats clambering up the mountain.
See, keeping goats in captivity is
they weren't in captivity,
they're
on a mountain.
Crime.
And if you went up the side into the park, you could see the wolves. And sometimes
terrible.
Very weird. And
anyway, just to
finish
because we're out of time.
real facts.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You know those little protrusions on the top of a giraffe's head?
Yes.
What do you think they are?
They're horns.
No, they're not.
What are they?
They're radar.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's up my radar.
Yeah, no, they are, yeah. They're called ossicones.
Uh-huh.
And the only other animal that's got ossicones is the okapi.
The
right?
okapi.
The okapi and the giraffe share this phenomenon where they've got ossicones at their radar. They teach a giraffe how not to hit objects because, of course, it's so tall and it can't see its feet, so it doesn't step into like a pit or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why has it got it on its feet then?
Well, because the radar works better higher up.
Does it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's why it's on their head. Wouldn't be much good on their ankle, would it?
No,
I'm not.
That's rubbish.
It's not
rubbish. I don't believe a word of that.
We're
going to get a giraffe expert on.
Yeah, okay.
And find out if you're telling the truth.
Fine.
All right.
I stand by what I say.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. This is Talk Sport. Tim Vickery's next.
The Two Mikes. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mikes, loads more coming up, of course, including a trip to Antarctica where we're going to talk to a fish expert, a marine biologist, who's going to tell us why fish and chips might soon become a thing of the past, and it'll have to be replaced by squid and chips.
Yeah, I've seen this sort of scare a million times, honestly.
Yeah, it's nothing like your scare about Brussels sprouts or anything like that, is it? Of course. Now, let's talk to a man who knows a little bit about fish and chips, knows a little bit about all manner of things, and he's a bit closer possibly to Antarctica than we are. And it's Tim Vickery. Tim, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you. It seems like the animal kingdom is exciting your imaginations this morning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Goats, giraffes, Roxy music, marine biologists.
Well, Porky's very much of a conservationist, as you probably know. Only the thing is that last week we were talking about saving the grey parrot, and he dismissed the plight of giraffes on the grounds that they weren't really worth saving. But he obviously had an about turn, a volt face, which is no bad thing.
I think they're gorgeous creatures. And the last time that I went to a zoo, the thing that really struck me was the giraffes and how they seem to be moving in slow motion and they're so graceful. I don't know. What possibly could a man have against a giraffe?
I know.
Well, I'll tell you what you can have. You can have something against a zoo that keeps a giraffe in those sort of conditions. It's outrageous. It's disgusting. I can't believe.
Are you not a friend of Chester Zoo?
Yes, I am. Yeah, but I mean, that's only for its research purposes. But I mean, honestly, I really believe that keeping giraffes in the confinement of a giraffe compound inside a zoo is just outrageous. It's inhuman, and it shouldn't be allowed. We should ban all zoos.
Well, you're a friend of Chester Zoo.
Are they nomadic creatures, your giraffe? Does he like to roam?
Sorry, Tim, what?
Are they nomadic? Do they like to roam across the plains?
Of course they do. They can make 80 or 90 miles a day easy, you know, in the old tundra and all that kind of stuff, or the svelte or whatever it is.
You mean the veldt?
The veldt that they.
The svelte is something completely different.
Yeah, that they.
That's how I would somehow describe Tim Vickery. Actually, he's rather svelte.
Well, I wouldn't, but
svelte on the veldt.
I've seen him in his European suits, you know. Flash Harry and all that kind of
stuff.
Flash Harry? Well, he looks a bit that way, doesn't he? Anyway, Tim, it's all football, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, although I do like the animal kingdom. And,
yeah.
What is the national sort of animal of Brazil, by the way?
Well, it's a big country, and there are lots. I mean, toucans. My writing pad that I use has got kind of some beautiful toucans on the front.
Yeah.
But you get lots, even from kind of leopard type creatures roaming around. Although, and this irritates Brazilians like mad when they go to Europe and have to ask this. They get asked this question. You don't see a lot of snakes kind of rummaging around the city centres.
No.
Now, that question they always get asked: are there snakes in the street? Do you have electricity in Brazil?
Yeah.
They absolutely detest those questions.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Well, those are the kind of questions you get asked by people who don't know what they're doing, really. And hopefully you won't get asked any of those kind of questions by us tonight. What about the Ballon d'Or? I suppose nobody should be surprised that Ronaldo's won it for the fourth time, and Lionel Messi didn't have a great year, really, did he?
Well, he did some pretty good things, but he didn't quite get over the finishing line, so there's no titles. I still think I've never seen anything like him. It's year after year after year. I would take him over Cristiano Ronaldo because I think Messi at his best, he just controls the game as if he's watching it from the best seat in the stand as well as playing it as playing it. And he would get my vote. But how do you look beyond Cristiano Ronaldo with the Champions League and you know the Euro win as well?
Yeah, and when I say he didn't have a great year, I mean he didn't have a great year for him, which is not quite the same as Charlie Adam not having a great year. Do you know what I
mean? Indeed. I'd love a fair few more players at White Hart Lane to have the kind of not so great year that Lionel Messi has just had.
Well, indeed, and some of those players at White Hart Lane aren't actually having a very good year either at the moment.
Well, fair to middling. I mean, it was about 20 years ago. We were happy just to stay up, So these days, all I want really is kind of heroic defeats.
Yeah.
If we get enough heroic defeats to get us into the Europa League, usually I'm happy.
Yeah, well, certainly the Europa League is going on, right? How about the Club World Cup, which gets underway pretty shortly, doesn't it?
It's already underway.
Oh, is
it? We're down to the business end. The semi-finals will be Wednesday and Thursday. It's like pushing a pea up a mountain using just your nose, trying to talk about this competition to a British audience.
Well, I was going to say the fact that I didn't even know it started. I mean, I was vaguely aware of a piece that I read about some team flying out to play in it, but I didn't realise it was already underway.
Yeah, well, the kind of minor teams. So we're down to the semi-finalists now. We've got on Wednesday the champions of South America, Atlético Nacional of Colombia, against Kashima Antlers of Japan. And then on Thursday, you've got Real Madrid in action against America of Mexico, who should really be called South America of Mexico.
Yes.
Mexico, look at the map, is in North America, but the team on the starting lineup in the game they played at the weekend, 8 South Americans. So, with 8 South Americans in the Mexican side, with Casemiro and Marcelo and James Rodriguez in the Real Madrid side, and with a team from Colombia taking on a team from Japan who have a couple of Brazilians, there is a very strong South American flavour to the tournament. Right. And maybe that's one of the reasons that it plays so well here. The other, of course, is that all of the big clubs here have a dream, and that dream is to play the glamorous, rich cousins from across the other side of the Atlantic and maybe beat them. It doesn't happen very often. It would be a big turn up for the books if Atlético Nacional of Colombia could do it this year and beat Real Madrid in the final. You'd expect that to be the final.
Chelsea lost to Corinthians, I think, didn't they?
That's the last European defeat. We've had 3 in all since the competition started in its current format in 2005. Liverpool lost to Sao Paulo of Brazil in 2005. Barcelona lost to Internacional of Brazil in 2006. Corinthians of Brazil beat Chelsea in 2012. So 3 South American victories, all more or less the same. The Brazilian side taking the field, knowing that the opponent is better, and kind of having a backs to the wall 1-0 win, which exemplifies the difference between the European champions and the champions of everywhere else. If you go back only 20, 25 years, it didn't used to be like that. Then the South American champions were as good as the European champions and would look forward to their annual meeting because they wanted to show off their skill. These days, because all of the best South Americans are playing elsewhere, it really is a case of hold on and hope and run the clock down.
Yeah, Tim, Mexico's in Central America, isn't it? It's not in North America.
No, geographically, it's north.
No, culturally, it's not. It's Central America. Even Mike would admit this.
It's called Central America.
Of course it is.
If Tim, who lives in that part of the world, tells me that technically, geographically, it's in North America.
Hang on, you lived in America for 10 years.
Yes, but Mexico is on what you might
and was always described as Central America. North America is...
wasn't really.
The United States and Canada.
No, it was described as Mexico. It wasn't described as Central
America. Yeah, but
Central America is like El Salvador and all that place and all that.
Yeah, and Mexico.
In football terms, that CONCACAF region is divided into 3 parts.
Yeah.
The Caribbean.
Yeah.
Central America, which is all the Central American countries, and North America, which is USA, Canada, and Mexico. It's in a different hemisphere from South America. So at the moment, we're high summer in South America.
Right.
Mexico is winter because it's in the northern hemisphere.
Right.
What about Central America?
Between Buenos Aires in Argentina and Mexico City, it's the distance between them is further than the distance between London and a number of cities in India.
Right. Okay, we got that one sorted then.
Yeah. Well, so you say you'd like to apologise to Tim?
Well, no, because it's a different definition. It's a different definition. Yeah, okay. Geographically, it's known as Central America. If you live in
let me ask you
North
this
America.
about the Club World Cup, Tim. Is it not even any longer a sort of shop window for Brazilian teams or South American teams to actually sort of put their players into it and see whether anybody wants to spend a vast amount of money to buy them and bring them to Europe?
Yeah, although most of them are already gone already. You know, by the time you get to this stage, they won the Copa Libertadores South American Champions League a few months ago. Yeah. Most of them are already gone. So the production, the selling goes on and on and on and on. And I would love Atlético Nacional to do it. They've become the most popular team in South America because they were to have been the opponents of Chapecoense, the team who perished in that air crash. And their response was just so magnificent. So absolutely fantastic. It was the idea that Chapecoense be declared champions came from them. They held a really moving memorial ceremony when they opened the gates of their stadium in Medellin. So they just capture the hearts of they've become the most popular team in Brazil. So they'll have lots of people here waking up early to cheer them on.
And the last time we spoke about this, there's been a couple of arrests. What's the latest on that side of the story?
Yeah, it was the airline that was responsible for this was based in Bolivia, and Bolivia's defense minister have said this wasn't an accident, this was homicide, because it's clear that the aircraft was travelling at the absolute limit of its fuel capacity, and it's quite worrying if you see that they'd made a few recent flights in similar kind of conditions. One taking Argentina, Lionel Messi and all, from a World Cup qualifier in Brazil down to Buenos Aires, which I think that they would have had maybe 18 minutes of fuel left. So had anything gone wrong there, you'd have got another tragedy. So it was an airline, it seems very clear, that was cutting corners as it was ferrying people around South America.
Okay. Now, exactly 80 years ago today, baseball apparently played a key role in the development of Brazilian football. Porky's not a big fan of baseball. Is there a baseball sort of interest in Brazil?
Not at all. No, it's big in Venezuela. When a home run is wonderfully spelt Jonron. Honron.
Honron.
Yeah, it's a big sport in Venezuela. It's not big, certainly not big in Brazil, but December 1936, Brazilian football has recently turned professional, and that means that you need to get supporters. You know, when it's professional, the money matters. Up to that point, it had been quite restricted to the elites. And most of the supporters had come from the elite as well. So There are 3 Rio derbies. Rio is the capital of Brazil. It's the city that sets the tone, radio carrying these games all across the giant country. 3 derbies between 2 big sides here, Flamengo and Fluminense. And the owner of the big sports newspaper, who the Maracanã Stadium is named after him, he came up with the idea of a competition between the supporters to try to give a title to the groups of supporters who were best at cheering on their team. So you get the start of kind of passionate supporters. So he starts this competition with a number of criteria, and he says explicitly in the pages of his newspaper, what we want to do here is introduce into Brazil the kind of sporting culture they have in the United States. In baseball, which obviously, in the 30s was already very, very well established as the professional sport in the United States. So that Brazilian way of supporting, that owes a debt to baseball. That was a conscious attempt to introduce baseball culture, baseball fan culture into Brazilian football. 80 years ago exactly.
There we go, 80 years ago today. We like anniversaries. Tim, listen, thank you very much indeed. We've got to let you go there because we're running out of time. We've got lots more to talk about there, Mr. Parry. It's all coming up very shortly here on Talk. This is Talk Sport. We are the 2 Mikes, and of course, coming up this week, we'll have the Porky Quiz. And some are suggesting that now, due to your extensive knowledge of the giraffe, perhaps we should have a quiz on giraffes.
Rubbish.
Why not?
It's not a big enough subject, mate. Honestly,
no, giraffes not a big enough subject.
Oh, it's just not. I mean, don't worry. We will hit on something that's seasonally and academically current.
Now, let me read you a couple of tweets out because we haven't read enough out so far. Michael says, "Hi, 2 Mikes. Please say hello to Tim and Matt and all my hard-working postie mates at the Medway while I'm listening in Antigua."
Okay.
So he's on holiday in Antigua.
Yes.
There's a thoughtful guy. Wants to say hello to all of his mates back home in Medway.
Okay.
Who are actually working instead of him.
Well, I'd like to say hello as well. However, I want to express a view about people who work in the post office.
Why?
But not the posties. I'm not having a go at the postmen, who are, as you know, stalwarts of our communities, and I'm a big supporter of them. But actually, the unions who run the post offices themselves and the counter staff are embarking upon a strike.
Are they?
In the 5 days running up to Christmas.
Really?
It's going to cause utter and...
That's going to be bad news for the people who are buying our DVD, aren't they?
Well, I mean, we're getting them out as fast as we can, and there's about 100 a day going out at the moment, about 130, I think, today. And
well, you don't need to give away those kind of details.
Yesterday. But anyway, the point is we're trying to get them out as fast as we can. What I wanted to say to you was... excuse me, if you want a DVD for Christmas from the 2 Mikes, please get your order in as quickly as you can, because although we will endeavour to try and get them to you another way, I mean, in the end, they're just going to have to close the post office down.
What do you mean we're going to endeavour to get them to them in another way?
Well, there are other transport, there are other...
What, so you're now going to suddenly enter into negotiations with UPS or somebody
DHL,
to see if we can do that?
Somebody like that, to get them out that way.
Or are you going to just deliver them yourself? Well, you can't do that.
No, of course I can.
Have you any idea how much the deliveries business is under strain at this time of year?
Well, I'm telling you now...
I mean, just my wine deliveries alone
are
taking up an enormous amount of time for these guys to be driving around.
You see, self-satisfaction, that's all you care about. Oh, it might interfere with my wine deliveries. Don't you understand?
No, I've got all my wine in. It's fine.
Don't you understand? Our priority here are our listeners.
Yeah, your
our
priority.
Millions of listeners.
That's your priority.
And if they want a DVD and they,
well, come on, let's get a pledge from you as to what you're going to do.
Well, I'm going to get the DVDs to them.
Are you?
Yeah. If I have to,
don't make a pledge that you can't keep.
If I have to cycle from here to Weymouth to deliver a DVD because of the strike at the post office, if that's something I've got to do, it will be done.
So the strike is on from, Monday to Friday of next week?
Is that right?
You're telling me it's 5 days before Christmas.
Well, I think it is. Hang on, I'm trying
to find out. And the end of next week is Christmas Eve. So they must be on strike Monday to Friday.
Okay, hang on. Let me find out here. I've got
the 19th to the 24th.
I've got the. Hang on. What do we got? Today's letter to Tory. Wait a minute. Excuse me. Sorry. That's just a bit of.
I'm glad you prepared for this. Please.
Yeah, I am.
Very well. As ever.
Here we go.
You haven't got it. Let me read you this while you look for it.
Okay.
Jules says this. Can you please give my lovely boyfriend Cookie a mention? He's a joiner in Bosbury.
Yes.
You will make his day.
Well, I sent him a message today, actually.
Where's Bosbury?
I don't know where Bosbury is, but I sent him a message today to Cookie.
Bosbury flop.
But also, we're very happy to.
I think the idea was to do it on the radio rather than.
I was going to say, give you an audio tribute as well as a written one.
Yeah, there you go. And Neil says, I've just had 2 hernia operations this morning, and now in my room listening to you guys. Try not to be too funny, as it hurts when I laugh.
Right, here we go. Post office hit by Christmas strikes.
That one.
What?
Well, there was just a message somebody who's recovering after 2 hernia operations.
Well, listen, hernias are really troublesome things,
Neil.
mate. Neil, take it easy, mate, in your recovery from the hernia, because remember, if you try to get back too quick, the hernia will pop out again. It could be very, very troublesome to you, so make sure you rest and recuperate as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, very well said.
Yes, yes.
Now, what are you going to tell me about these strike dates?
Right, here. People selling gifts to family and friends face serious disruption after post office workers voted to stage 5 days of strikes before Christmas.
Yeah.
Hundreds of larger branches will close or operate reduced services on December's the 19th, 20th and 24th.
Right.
Now, December the 19th is next Monday.
What about the 22nd and 23rd?
Well, what they do is, and it's malicious, this is, they have sort of spare days in between when they're not striking, but the disruption caused by the striking days mean that effectively the strike goes on for 5 days.
Oh, yeah.
See what I mean?
Okay.
The railway unions do exactly the same.
Well, that's going to be, the next 3 days,
yes,
trying to get from where you are into here is going to be an absolute nightmare.
Well, I've got a very important appointment in town at midday on Wednesday, and it's something I simply can't miss, and I can't...
Well, how are you going to get in? You better get cycling boots out.
No, I've already ordered a car to pick me up and take me to the nearest tube station.
Really?
The nearest one to Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, and I will then jump on the Northern Line and come in that way.
What is that, Tooting?
Morden, somewhere like that. Yeah, something like that. And the point is that I am a very fortunate man to be able to do that, because the taxi will probably cost 25 quid or something like that. What about people who simply can't spare £25 on a daily basis to do that?
They can't
I
come
totally
to work.
agree. It's outrageous.
I mean, and not only has it become a strike which is not, reliable in the sense that some trains are running, some aren't.
Yes.
When you were telling me last week when you were trying to come in when we were on in the afternoon,
yeah,
they just cancel trains
willy-nilly. So you
can't rely on them.
You can't rely on them. What you have to do is now, in this modern day and age, is go for a train an hour before the train you want to get, and you might have some chance of getting here on time because of trains. But I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is that we thought we'd rid this country of strikes with more legislation against irresponsible union strikes, but more...
Well, all that happened was they banned sort of secondary picketing.
Yes, but more an understanding between the working man and employers that actually, to make the economy work, you shouldn't have strikes for spurious reasons. But the problem we've got now is we've got wishy-washy government aligned with a far-left movement in the opposition who believe in the power of direct action rather than parliamentary power, and therefore they're calling strikes all over the place.
You see, Len McCluskey's facing somebody who's going to stand against him, apparently, for the Unite Union, I think he's in, isn't it?
No chance at all. McCluskey is so powerful and safe in his position. Who's going to unseat him?
Well, the guy who runs the Midlands, apparently, is going to try and unseat him, so there could be a change in the wind.
It would be great.
Keep an eye on
It'd be great to see somebody, who's prepared to take a couple of steps back and look at the bigger picture, rather than be dogmatic about the way they apply their creed to have a go at running things.
Well, I mean, we'll have to revisit this one, obviously, particularly if people are having difficulty. So if you want to order a 2 Mics DVD, go to the 2mics.co.uk. You better do it now.
Well, the thing is,
before this happens.
It's December the 19th. That's next Monday. I know that because on December the 17th, we are in Glasgow.
We are.
For our last live show of the year.
That's right.
And therefore, it'd be better to get it done this week. Yeah, that's right.
Well, definitely.
Right.
Now, how about this one from David? It says, electromagnetic communication is used by submarines. Sonar is how they navigate using ultrasound waves.
Yes, well, that's what I just told you.
No, you said that they sent the message via sonar, which is not true.
No, I said...
Incorrect.
I said by ultrasound. Honestly, I did.
Ultrasound?
Yeah.
As opposed to electromagnetic systems?
No, it's all the same thing, Mike. It's all the same. You don't understand the underwater technology of sonar and ultrasound.
I don't think ultrasound, which is used to investigate your heart ailment and also to look inside the womb of a pregnant woman, is the same system that they would send a message around the world to blow up a ship out of the water.
No, it is. It is, believe me. I know these things. Don't worry about it,
Tom
okay?
says this, I'm in Canada listening live. I've converted 2 friends, Tim and Rachel. They are loving it. They would love a shout-out.
Oh, really?
So there you go, Tim and Rachel.
What's the names? Tim and Rachel?
Tim and Rachel.
Which part of Canada are we talking about?
He doesn't say.
It's a big country, Canada.
Yeah, it is.
Tim and Rachel in Canada, wherever you may be, because I think you've got the biggest landmass country in the world, although 2/3 of it, of course, is uninhabitable because it's inside the Arctic Circle, where only the caribou roam.
The caribou.
Yes, welcome to the caribou. That's right. Yeah, welcome to the Two Mike Show. It's great to have you on board.
Caribou was the name of an album by Elton John, wasn't it?
I've no idea.
I think it was.
Not a great fan of Elton John.
No, I know
as you know.
Pete says this: the Royal Mail is not on strike, and his post office counters going on strike. Deliveries will still happen as normal.
Now, I said that. It's
well,
post
why
office
are you
counters.
going on about the deliveries then?
I've also said that the postmen are a great part of the institution of our society, and they do a great job.
But so therefore deliveries aren't affected.
They get up in the middle of the night to get off to the sorting office. They get their loads sorted, put them in their trucks, trolleys, whatever you call them these days, and pound the streets.
So you're giving out misinformation again?
No, I'm not.
You're saying that people aren't going to be able to get the DVD, when in fact they will.
No, they will get the DVD, but can I just say this?
Yeah.
Remember, our DVDs are posted from a post office, right? Uh-huh. At the end of the day, if you send stuff through the mail and you've got a mass volume of DVDs, maybe 150, 160, somebody from the post office has to come along with a big sack, put them all in and take them back to the post office. That's where they're then processed and sent out.
Yeah, but not if they're not going through the counters.
They go through the counter, Mike. They have to go through the counter because somebody on the counter has to endorse every one with the postage. You see what I mean?
Sounds like a very ineffective way to do it.
Well, it's the only system we have, and that's what I'm saying.
Why don't we get a franking machine?
They do have a franking machine at the post office. This is the point I'm making.
People who send out the DVDs have a franking machine.
They can't do it that way.
Why not?
Because some of them have to go overseas. Some of them have to have special postage. Some of them are, for instance, just a DVD. Some of them are a DVD with a T-shirt. Some of them are two DVDs.
You still use a franking machine.
The new one and the old one, and I'm afraid it doesn't work that way.
It's a creaking system you've got in operation.
No, it's not my system. It's the system.
Okay.
And they have to go through the post office. This is the problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport.
Yes.
The Two Mikes. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Stupid Cupid, you're a real mean guy. I'd like to clip your wings so you can fly. I'm in love and it's a crying shame. And I know that you're the one to blame. Stupid Cupid. Hey, set me free. Stupid Cupid, stop picking on me.
What do you think of pedants?
Sorry?
What do you think of pedants?
Pedants?
Pedants,
People who are pedants, you mean?
Yes, pedants.
I think they're, miserable and curmudgeonly.
Really? I've got one here called Peter.
Right.
It says, when you read the telephone number out, can you please stop spelling it? They are zeros, not O's. Numbers, not letters. Because I say 08717.
Yes.
223344.
And what's his point?
He says I should say 08717. That sounds wrong, doesn't it?
Zero to me is an Americanism.
Yeah.
I mean, we say O. I mean, I always say 0207 and then whatever the number is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't say zero, do you?
No, you don't say zero. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, well, some people are like that. I had a row with a guy on Twitter the other day because I said, we'll be back on the air Monday night from 1.
Yes.
He said, no, that's Tuesday. And I went, well, it's not actually.
No.
To me, the day begins with breakfast here on TalkSport at 6 a.m.
I totally agree.
So we are in the middle of the night.
Now, listen, I've got some bad news here.
Have you?
About posties.
Yeah.
But fortunately, it's in Stockholm.
Yeah.
It says Peter has sent this in.
Yeah.
He says, hi guys, I'm ordering a DVD now. The problem is the posties are on strike here in Stockholm.
Right.
What time can I expect you, Mr. Parry?
No, well, you see what you locked yourself in for. Now everyone will say, well, I didn't get my DVD in time for Christmas, so Porky's not going to have to compensate me.
What? This is a bit harsh.
Well, speaking without thinking is never a good plan.
No. It says here, will the Two Mikes Edinburgh DVD be on sale at the Glasgow gig? Well, funny you should say that.
The answer is yes.
A consignment went up to Glasgow, or that part of the world anyway, at the end of last week and safely arrived there at the weekend. So the answer to that is yes.
Now, how about this one for another Pete? It says, only Porky can talk about giraffes, the sinking of the Belgrano, and back to the giraffes within 2 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. They're all connected.
They are.
Listen.
And now, I've got one here from Gift Gaff. It says, why would Thatcher send a signal 9,000 miles to Western Australia if sent direct or via Ascension Islands? Relay post is 7,939 miles.
Well, thank you for that information. I don't know, but I'm told that was the way it happened because I've been to the place in Australia, funny enough, where they said this is where we sent the signal from. We received it from London.
You're taking their word for it?
Yes, I am, yeah. Now, listen, I've got this great story for you because, of course, I was lucky enough to meet your lovely dog, Ziggy.
You were?
A couple of weeks ago.
You don't keep giving his name away.
No, well, everybody knows it.
Everybody doesn't know it.
Well,
there's more and more people listening to the show who have never heard his name.
Yeah, well.
So the more people that know his name, the less I like it.
Well, what's the problem?
Well, I've told you before. I don't want people calling him.
Yeah.
Knowing him by name.
Yeah, well...
Because he might go to them if they say Ziggy.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
There's a lot of people get their dogs kidnapped out there.
All right, we'll change his name.
What do you mean change his name?
Well, yeah, people change their names. Now then, what I was going to say is this.
Let's change the dog's name just because you keep giving it away. And then you'd give away the new name anyway.
What? No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. Now, this is... I love this story, honestly. It's brilliant. Time is running out for Tess, the Golden Labrador. She was diagnosed with life-threatening heart condition. So you see the simile here? This is like me. I have a life-threatening heart condition. So does this little dog, OK?
You don't have a life-threatening heart condition anymore. Well, even you have said that they have said that you are a medical miracle.
I am.
Because you are no longer in what can be described as mortal danger.
Well, let me tell you, Mike, those who think they're cured from heart disease are not. And if once you think you're cured and you stop taking your tablets and looking after your life in the proper way, proper lifestyle, then you could die.
My point is that we could all die. I mean, I could get hit by a bus.
Yes.
But the point is that you are no longer, as you're walking around, in mortal danger.
Yeah, the only problem is if you got hit by a bus, the bus would need replacing.
Oh,
not
yeah,
you.
very funny.
Now then, now it says here that Tess is now back to her playful old self, enjoying lots of cuddles. 6-year-old Joseph Foster, who owned the dog, right? So you've got boys.
Where is this? Is this in this country?
It's in this country, definitely in this country. And his family launched an appeal to raise £7,500 they needed for treatment for their dog's heart. Okay, but what is so wonderful about this story is that they had to pay for an operation. Which was only offered at a single English veterinary centre.
Right.
It's so rarely performed on dogs that a surgeon experienced in human medicine must oversee it. OK?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Right. So what I would call, probably wrongly, a proper doctor would have to oversee.
Well, a human doctor, as opposed to a veterinary doctor.
What, you mean as opposed to an animal doctor?
Yes, that's right, yeah. Well,
like a giraffe or
well, in that way, no, you idiot.
I'd like to see a human doctor, please.
Now, Tess is 17 months old, right?
Yeah.
And she had atrioventricular reciprocation tachycardia.
Oh, dear.
Which is a condition I'm aware of.
Yes.
And it means the heart beats too fast.
What sort of a heart has a dog got? Same as a human, basically.
Well, I think the mechanics of it. I think the mechanics of it's the same. Now,
because there have been cases, haven't there, of people taking a pig's heart in putting it into a human.
Yes, that's right.
But never any other animal, really, as far as I'm aware.
That's right. Well, dogs are the wrong size, I suppose, aren't they? And all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it says, so Tess was on very costly medication after she suffered heart failure, just to keep her going, OK? But then Dr. Martin Lowe, consultant cardiologist at Barts and Great Ormond Street Hospitals in London, both of which I've been to, by the way, during the course of my treatment, teamed up with the veterinary cardiologist Pedro Oliveira at the Davis Veterinary Specialists in Hertfordshire. Despite a couple of complications, Tess went through the 3-hour operation and has now pulled through. They live in Bridport in Dorset, OK?
Yeah, I know Bridport. Nice part of the world.
Yeah, that's right. And the dog is now back to being what a Labrador is like at that age.
Yeah.
Bouncing around, jumping up
Idiotic,
and down. Sorry, the procedure took 4.5 hours. It involves inserting catheters into veins, all this kind of stuff. Now, surgeons believe Tess has been cured thanks to the procedure called radiofrequency ablation. And this is confirmed by heart tests which were taken after the operation. But the most amazing thing is that a veterinary cardiologist does the operation, but has to be overseen by a heart surgeon who is normally...
Well, I presume that's because they don't do very many heart operations on dogs, as they explain.
That's right.
So you would want somebody there who'd done a lot of them, wouldn't you?
That's right, absolutely, yeah.
Because you wouldn't want somebody, for example, operating on your heart.
No.
Who had only ever operated once.
No, that's right.
You'd want somebody looking over him who'd operated a couple of hundred times.
I think you're absolutely right.
I think that's me getting to the heart of the matter.
Yeah, I think you're getting to the heart of the matter. You're absolutely right. But isn't that wonderful? I just think that's absolutely fantastic.
It is.
Absolutely fantastic.
And was it private or was it paid for by, the funding?
It's paid for by donations.
Yeah, right.
It's like, what is it, crowdfunding, is it?
Crowdfunding. Yeah, they do call it that,
or something like that.
Yeah.
It says, what it was, sorry, its plea was featured in a national newspaper and then donations started flowing in.
There you go.
And 400 well-wishers managed to send enough money to reach the target in 24 hours. And then Tess was given the operation.
Right.
And there's pictures of her with her owner, the little boy, and it's just a great, heartwarming story.
I saw an amazing dog, actually, the weekend. I was down at a seafront. You might have seen a couple of pictures that I put out.
Yes.
It was a beautiful day on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I went and had a little wander on the new Hastings Pier.
Oh, yes.
Which has been reconstituted after it was burned down.
Rebuilt.
By some vandals. Right?
Yes.
I'm meant to be a friend of the Hastings Pier, actually, but they messed up the the whole situation, so I wasn't able to do it. But it was really very nice. But as I was walking back with the dog, saw this really unusual-looking dog, which looked like a mini cow. Because it was like a Frisian cow. It was white with big black patches on it.
Ooh, that sounds
Never seen anything
gruesome.
Like that?
No. What sort of dog was it?
Well, not gruesome. Well, funnily enough, the two dogs stopped and started talking to each other. So I was talking to the owner, and she said, "Oh, this is it's a mixed breed between a Labrador and a St Bernard."
Oh, yes.
So it's got a St Bernard colouring.
Wow.
But it looks kind of like a Labrador. It's a beautiful dog.
Right.
Really beautiful.
Sounds great.
And apparently they're called Le Bernards.
Le Bernards.
Yeah.
And is it an attractive dog? Or?
Yeah, quite nice.
Sure, it doesn't look like a bit of a freak dog.
No, it just looked very unusual.
By the way, never start taking the Botox.
What?
Because I've seen some pictures today from people who started on Botox.
Yeah. Well, I would never inject anything into my face.
And then when the Botox rigids up your face, if you see what I mean, you know, and you
well, you'd end up looking like David Guest, wouldn't
you? Well, no, because what happens is when you can't move your forehead and smile or anything like that, after the Botox, you have to then have some plastic surgery.
Oh, really?
And that's when your face starts turning into the sort of face that the bride of Wildenstein, the bride of Wildenstein had.
Yeah.
And that's...
Well, David Guest was similar. I mean, he had a very, very sort of static-looking face.
Wasn't Sylvester Stallone's mother a big fan of that sort of thing?
I think she was, yeah.
I think she was.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Now, listen, I've got a message here about the national crisis that the Two Mikes DVD might be interrupted.
Yeah, you have now caused a massive problem here.
No.
By giving out more misinformation.
No, there's no misinformation. It's all okay. But it does say here, Royal Mail sorting offices can stamp your mail in person, thus bypassing PO counters.
Yeah.
But I think to do that, you'd have to go to the sorting office, wouldn't you, presumably?
Well, it seems to me that you need to have a look at the way that this system works, because clearly it's not strike-proof, which it should be.
Yes.
How about this one from David? The Porky mailbag might be in jeopardy after Porky slagged off the post office. DVDs will end up in Stockholm as well.
No, I'm not slagging off the post office at all. I'm certainly not slagging off postmen.
You're slagging off the people who are going on strike on post office counters.
I'm not even slagging them off. I'm slagging off the people who run the union, which is ordering these strikes, okay? I tell you what, I find people actually behind post office counters in the post offices I've used very, very helpful.
Yeah?
You know, I think they've been...
you trying to dig your way out of a hole now?
Not at all. They seem to have been doing their job for a lot of years, and whenever you say, look, I've got a problem with this, how do I send that there? Have you got a form for this? Yeah. They're usually very patient and very helpful, because a lot of old people need post offices.
Well, that's what you're doing in there.
To sort of pick up their pension, all that kind of stuff. But look, let me make a pledge. I'm going to
Don't make another pledge.
No, I'm going to make a pledge.
Sake.
I will find out first thing tomorrow morning. By the way, I'm having 2 teeth put in tomorrow.
Are you?
Yeah. It's a
Where?
3-hour operation in the afternoon.
Where?
At my dental surgery.
No, I didn't mean where geographically.
Oh, what do you mean?
I meant where in your mouth.
Oh, both at the side. What's your problem?
Nothing.
Why?
No, it's all right.
Sorry, what are you laughing at? What are you laughing at, you idiot?
Because I asked you a question and you gave me the wrong answer.
No, I didn't. They're both at the side of my
when somebody says, where are you getting your teeth put in?
Yeah.
You don't go, Horsham, do you?
Well, it's not in Horsham, actually. It's in Wimbledon.
Is it?
Yeah. But they're going into the sides of my mouth. Just one last thing. My pledge is this.
Go on.
I will talk to our distributors tomorrow. I promise you all this.
Okay.
Don't stop ordering the DVD. I will talk to our distributors tomorrow and find out exactly how we're going to get over any problems brought upon by a possible Labour issue behind post office counters. It ain't going to affect the Two Mikes.
Splendid.
I will beat it.
This is TalkSport.
I wish I was a fisherman, tumbling on the seas, far away from dry land and its bitter memories, casting out my sweet life with abandonment love.
Recognise that song?
Bearing down on me.
Well, it used to be the theme music to Keith Arthur's
exactly right.
Fishing show.
We spoke to Keith Arthur just the other day.
Yeah, we
did.
did. Yeah,
there was that weird story about the mackerel down in the West Country.
Yes,
who
there was.
People thought had all committed mass suicide.
That's right. But in fact, we knew exactly why they ended up on the beach.
Yeah.
Thanks to Keith's superior knowledge.
And that, of course, is Fisherman's Blues.
Yes,
is the name of the song.
That's right.
By the Waterboys.
That's right. Yeah,
who are from Ireland.
That's right.
Now, would you like to talk about fish?
Definitely.
Because fish are a fascinating subject of lovely things to eat, but also the way that they move around is quite remarkable.
Indeed.
And because we're being told of climate change, it may well be that in the future, I'm not quite sure how far in the future, fish and chips will become a thing of the past in this country. Because you won't be able to get that lovely cod and haddock that you now find on your plate.
Yeah.
You'll be replacing it with squid. We're going to talk to a guy who knows all about this. It's Jim McClintock, who's a marine biologist and about the Antarctic.
Yeah.
And he's at the University of Alabama as well. Jim, a very good morning to you here.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us, Jim. Now, we're being told that basically cod and haddock and that type of white fish is going to disappear from the North Sea. Are they going to go somewhere else, or are they just going to die out?
I think they're going to have to move north if they can do that, because essentially what's happening is it's warming. They can't survive in these temperatures that are warming. And we're seeing the same kind of thing is happening here in the United States, up in the northeastern part of the country around Maine. It's kind of a model of future oceans. The ocean there has warmed more than just about any place in the world. And the cod have disappeared between the pressures of fishing and warming, and are being replaced by other invasive things. Actually, the lobsters are doing well. There's big long-finned squid, which I understand is a problem as well where you are.
And are the squid sort of predatory, you mean, in that sense?
Yeah, and they're, squid and chips. That's going to be the future, I think.
Cool. Yeah, well, we've been seeing TV reports on that all week, but you're not a fan of squid, are you, Porky?
I'm certainly not a fan of squid. And the thing is, James, I would say that we've had these scares over the years. I've been reading that, cod's going to double in price, and, we're all going to be short of fish because of European fishing laws, and the Spanish are catching too many. I mean, there's a lot of scares about fish, and have been over the decades. Basically, there are a lot of fish in the oceans, aren't there? The oceans are very big places, and there are billions of fish about.
Well, I agree to an extent. What we're doing is we're sort of fishing down the food chain. The bigger fish are disappearing, and we're replacing them with other fish that we're eating. But things like cod have a very checkered history. The New England cod fishery was completely wiped out by overfishing and has never come back. So there's a combination of too much fishing pressure, and then climate warming is sort of the linchpin. It's pushing the pressure just up a notch, and so it is having significant impacts on fisheries.
And we had the cod wars here, of course, didn't we?
With Iceland
some decades ago.
And there's
always been around the British Isles a sort of an argument about who's allowed to fish them. Presumably, overfishing has played some part in this as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's a big competition out there, and now there's countries that are sneaking in with their fishing ships and taking things from coastlines where there's no Coast Guard to protect the waters. And one of the proposals is that we should just stop fishing beyond the 200-mile limit that countries essentially can manage and fish off their coastlines, so that the open ocean can become sort of a seed bank for replenishing fisheries. So that we would...
Yeah, doesn't that happen already, though, James? I mean, the distance between the United Kingdom or Ireland and the United States is 3,000 miles. Now, fishing boats don't yet go out into the middle of the Atlantic to catch fish because it's too far to go. It's uneconomical, but surely... in the future, we've got to use the oceans to harvest food for human beings in a way we farm it now off the land. And we've only barely scratched the surface of the possibilities of farming the seas, haven't we?
Well, that's true. There's a lot of innovation that can come, a lot of management to ensure that the fisheries stay sustainable and healthy. Where I work in Antarctica, we've had a problem with fishing for Antarctic cod, as they're called, because they take so long to reproduce that when the fishery came down to Antarctica and began to take these fish out, they disappeared very quickly because it took 20 years for them to become to the point where they could reproduce. So certain fish lend themselves to more sustainable fisheries than other fish do. And so you've got this combination of fishing pressure that you have to be smart about, and then on top of that, you've got climate warming. And I haven't even mentioned ocean acidification, which is where you take carbon dioxide, as you know, in the atmosphere, and the oceans are becoming more acidic. And fish can be affected by this just as shellfish can.
Is there no way that that some of these fish can be farmed in the same way, say, for example, salmon have been farmed?
Yeah, that's
I mean, is that a possibility? A great question, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know of any cod fisheries. They're bottom fish, as you know. They feed on the bottom. In America, we're raising catfish in ponds and lakes and things like that. So it's feasible, I suppose, that you could raise cod. It also depends how quickly they grow and how economical it is to raise a fish like that. But certainly mariculture, like you've said, is happening in the world, and so is aquaculture, where you raise the fish on the land in tanks.
I mean, if you think about it, James, take Alaska on your continent and take Norwegian fjords on our continent in Europe. Surely you could build, huge pens across the end of a Norwegian fjord and from some aspect of the Alaskan coast and just farm fish, millions and millions and billions of them, couldn't you?
Well, they're already doing it. When I fly down the coast of Chile on my way to Antarctica now, I fly over massive pens offshore, where they're farming salmon. And there's a few problems in that when you put the food in there for them, you have to feed them in the pens. There's some pollution that comes from that. But in general, it seems to work fairly well, and I think this is going to be part of our future. There is going to be farming fish in the ocean and also hopefully managing wild populations so that there'll be fish for the future.
Yeah, because fish and chips in this business is a massive business, really.
Of course it is.
Many of the smaller shops are not run by big chains, but, there's an awful... I mean, I don't know what the figure is, but, billions and billions of pounds worth of fish and chips sold in this country on an annual basis. So, I wonder whether... This idea of squid and chips is clearly something that for people's palates, I don't think would work.
Used to.
I eat a lot of squid because I eat that kind of, what my colleague here would call Mediterranean cuisine. But it's not really...
Calamari.
It's not very British, you know what I mean?
Calamari, you're absolutely right.
Calamari, yes.
Yeah, James, you keep talking about going down to the Antarctic. Now, most of the Antarctic, or a lot of the Antarctic, is frozen over. Can't we just dig great holes in the ice and use them as fish farms below because the temperature is fine for reproduction and all that kind of stuff?
Well, that would be very difficult. The Antarctic waters are sub-freezing, and the only reason they're not a block of ice is there's salt in the water, and that lowers the freezing point. The trouble with raising fish in Antarctica is that things grow so slowly that it just wouldn't be manageable in that sense. But certainly the water is beautiful, nutrient-rich water and clean, and, in that sense it would be good. But it's just the rate of which the fish would grow is not rapid enough for a farm type of product.
Yeah, now, I don't know how long you've been going down to the Antarctic, Jim.
I'm almost 30 years.
Is that right? Well, then you're the best man to ask this next question to, because what I was going to say to you is what is the actual... we see so much propaganda nowadays from one side or the other of not necessarily the climate change argument, but from every political spectrum, whether the Antarctic ice is getting thicker, whether the Arctic ice is getting thinner. Nobody really knows unless you've been there. And so can you tell us, say, over 30 years, what have your observations been?
I can tell you the last 15 years I've been working in a part of Antarctica called the Antarctic Peninsula. It's about it's 1,000 kilometers long. It's situated below South America, and it is a rapidly warming region of Antarctica. Not all of Antarctica is warming so quickly, but this region where I'm working now is just amazing. It's probably warmed up about 5 degrees centigrade in the last 40 years.
Wow.
And so we're seeing the sea ice recede. About 40% of the annual sea ice has disappeared. The Adelie penguins that live near the station are disappearing because as the air is warming, it's getting more humid, it's snowing more. The penguins arrive, they lay their eggs, they get hit by an unseasonably late snowstorm, and then all the eggs are lost when the snow melts and they drown. So we're seeing impacts right in front of us of climate warming on that peninsula. So yes, it really is quite dramatic on the Antarctic Peninsula.
Is it just warming when you talk about climate change, Jim? Is it just warming, or is it just different to what it used to be? You just said that the penguins get hit by a sudden snowstorm. Well, I mean, that might be as a result of warming, but it's not very warm to them when the snowstorm, is a blizzard and wipes out all their eggs.
Yeah, what I like to say is what we're seeing with climate change is we're seeing warmer warms, colder colds, drier dries, hotter hots. I mean, it goes on and on. We're seeing stronger hurricanes, maybe not more of them.
Yeah.
But we're seeing they're strengthening. Everything is becoming more dynamic and strong and causing a lot of problems. Yeah. If I read the newspaper one more time and read the word record-breaking, which I guess is 2 words. But, I mean, it's a pattern. You look at this pattern, and it's so difficult now to find a credible scientist who can look you in the eye and tell you that we ourselves are not causing climate change on this planet. And the problem is that while our climate has always changed, what's happening with this system is that it's changing so fast. Yeah. And as a biologist, I'm very concerned about how organisms are going to be able to respond in such a short period of time to such rapid change.
I'm so glad you said that, Jim, though, because there is so much nonsense talked about it. And, you know, for those of us who are not experts in climate, not experts in biology, not experts in weather, you know, it's very difficult to know who's telling the truth. And from what you're saying, it sounds as though, yes, of course it's happening. I don't think anybody doubts that anymore. But, you know, the reasons why it's happening may not be all that clear. But my interest as well is what is actually going to be the future? You know, how is it going to affect the world?
Well, I can tell you now that I read recently that people who are looking to buy their condominium on the coast of Florida and Miami, the question no longer is, can I be real close to the ocean? It's, is the ocean going to be coming up and lapping at my feet of my condominium? Yeah. So there's beginning to be some pretty significant economic impacts. You know, there's villages in Alaska that are having to get up and move because the coastline with sea level rise is responding and disappearing. So there are very tangible things that are happening, big droughts that, you know, that we haven't faced in the past. I was on Al Jazeera News last night, or yesterday, I should say, talking about the drought here in Alabama. Wow. We are in a very wet southeastern portion of a continent, and we went for, 70 days without a drop of rain, tremendous forest fires. My home state of California has been in a drought for 6 years, and I'm sure that you probably have had similar situations where you are.
Yeah, well, we don't get droughts, actually.
We have had droughts.
We get floods.
Yeah, we get some floods.
We have had droughts. I mean, the weather has changed in this country, no question about that.
Yeah, I mean,
no question.
It's not as cold as it used to be, but... But there've been a lot of droughts in California over the last 300 years, Jim. Really, haven't there? You know, I mean,
but nothing quite like this, where it's been so continuous for so long. And now we're having water wars. You know, there's not enough water to go around, and these are things that just hadn't happened before.
Yeah, I mean, they even tried to arrest Magnum PI over it, didn't they?
That's right.
Yeah, that was a shocking story.
So what I tell people is, you know, of course, most people now realize that things are changing, that it's warming. But when I lecture about climate change, and I do this widely, the question is, do we have anything to do with it? And what I answer is that if you go to Antarctica and you drill an ice core through 3,000 meters of ice, you can pull that core of ice up through the ground, through the ice, and inside are little air bubbles. And in those air bubbles is a history of carbon dioxide in our world's atmosphere over 500,000 years. And that carbon dioxide level has never been over 300 parts per million until the onset of the Industrial Revolution. And since that period of time, carbon dioxide has gone up another 25%. We just hit 400 parts per million, and we know that's a greenhouse gas, and we know we're putting it in the atmosphere. So as we continue to burn fossil fuels, we're going to do nothing but add to that warming that's happening. And it's such a straightforward thing to see. What you're finding is a lot of people are out there with other interests that are planting doubt about climate change and global warming. Yeah. It's the same thing that happened. It happened in our country. It happened with cigarettes and their danger. You know, there were companies hired to plant doubt so that nothing would be enacted to cut back on the industry.
That was in the 50s. Nobody connected cigarettes to cancer.
That's true. Jim, listen, thank you. It's really great talking to you. Thank you very much indeed. Jim McClintock there, marine biologist, Antarctic professor at the University of Alabama. Fascinating stuff there. Fascinating.
Pretty fascinating.
No, I know you don't think it's fascinating because you think you know better than him.
No, I don't think I know
we will explore some of that.
Seems to be a bit one-sided.
We'll explore some of that. I didn't think so at all. I thought he was the first person I've ever spoken to about climate change who wasn't one-sided. He was actually very balanced. Yeah. This is Talk Sport.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
This is is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, it's the Porky Post Bag. It's known as Postman Pork. We will hopefully have a reasonable amount for this week. Next week, I'm not so sure, given what you've been describing as is going on. But what we should say is Jim, who we just spoke to there, Jim McClintock's got a book out called A Naturalist Goes Fishing, if you want to read any more about his experiences of the Antarctic, which I think are fascinating.
I don't think you'll find the waters lapping up to the condominiums in Miami anytime soon.
Well, I'm not sure.
These are the sort of stories that,
all he's saying is people are asking. Yeah, but what I'm saying is he's saying people are asking that question.
I mean, it's an obvious statement to say, look, when the Industrial Revolution happened, there was more smoke in the air. There's bound to be, because that's how the world turned to wealth, you know? So unless you go back to the horse and cart, it's not a question of...
Well, we're a much cleaner world,
it's bad. It's saying you've got to control it.
No, but we're a much cleaner world now than we were then.
Of course we are.
Aren't we? I mean, but the problem is, as you've often said, and I've often said, is it's all very well cleaning up one half of the world, but if the other half of the world is going to pollute it even worse, then, we're not on the same page. Yeah. And that doesn't make any sense. Becky says this, forget Brussels sprouts, cream and Ferrero Rocher shortages. The Two Mics DVD shortage will send Porky's bank balance into meltdown.
No!
You've created a monster here.
No, we can't have that.
Dean says, I thought Adam Crozier was head of Post Office Union, unless he's left.
No,
I think he was head of the Post Office at one point.
He was head of the Post Office, not the union. No. In fact, he fought the unions when they wanted to, make all sorts of reforms and all that kind of stuff. Mr. Crozier now is very successfully the head of ITV.
Is he not the guy that broke the whole Post Office thing up as well? When he made Post Office counters and then the Royal Mail got sold off. Was he not in charge of all that?
I think he had a lot to do with that. Yeah. But he's been a very successful businessman all his life. He was, of course, the former chief executive of the FA as well, talking about the FA.
When was he in charge of the FA?
Adam Crozier was in charge of the FA.
Was he in charge of the FA during its golden period or something?
Well, it was about 205 to 208 or something like that.
When England didn't do very well?
Well,
anything.
He was in charge when Sven was there.
See, this is the problem with British industry, right? No, but we have people, and I've got nothing against Adam Crozier. He happens to be Scottish, right? However, he gets the reputation of being a great businessman.
Yes.
And you say, well, then he was in charge of the FA, and what did he do? Nothing that I can remember.
Well,
why is he remembered as one of the great leaders of the FA?
He moved it to Soho Square.
Oh, great! So they were closer to all the nice bars they could take Farrier a lamb to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, from
Lancaster Gate.
Lancaster Gate, the Royal Lancaster Hotel. That's
did he not take over from Graham Kelly, your mate?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Go on, give us a quick belt to Graham.
Michael, I want an immediate investigation into all these leaks from the Football Association, Mike, and I want to know why Paul Merson's on the back of the minute. And Barry, what happened to last week's investigation? Yeah, it was great, Graham. Now, listen, that music that we just played, to return to the air.
Ah, yes.
Was that by Connie Francis?
What? Where is my mind?
Yeah.
No.
You sure?
Eh?
Because we're celebrating the 78th birthday of Connie Francis. Well, believe it or not, is one of...
She doesn't sound like a male of American rock
singer. No, but I thought
singer.
it might have been her song originally, you see. I think it's her song originally, and I think...
Where is my mind?
Yeah, whoever
By the Pixies. Isn't it by the Pixies?
I don't know, but I think it was her song originally.
I think it's by the Pixies. I don't think they covered any of Connie Francis' stuff.
I think they did.
I'm pretty sure they didn't.
Did you know...
I'll take guidance from the men behind the glass. They're currently falling about laughing.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the Pixies?
The Pixies?
Yeah.
No.
They were part of the grunge movement.
Grunge?
You've heard of the grunge movement?
Not really,
You've heard of Nirvana?
Grunge is all about people who dress up like tramps, isn't it? And
not
don't
really.
wash for 3 weeks
sort of
and all that, isn't it?
Movement and culture from the west coast of America, specifically Seattle.
Yeah, full of people like I've just described, yeah? Used to sleep on a friend's couch and all that kind of stuff.
Kurt Cobain was a very interesting guy.
Is he the one who shot himself?
He was.
Yeah,
he suffered from depression.
Sad. It's terrible when somebody's driven to that in their lives.
Yeah, indeed.
But anyway, I think that probably was a cover of a Connie Francis song.
It was certainly not.
It was, because we were, at that point in the show, you see, we were celebrating the Connie Francis' 78th birthday because
John says he played Connie Francis at 2:15.
What? What do you mean? I didn't hear any Connie Francis.
You didn't hear any?
No.
Neither did I.
No.
There you go.
Stupid Cupid, you're a real
I remember that.
guy.
We played that at 2:15. It was 2:15 we played that.
Couldn't have been.
You don't remember that?
No.
Your short-term memory now is down to 10 minutes. You realise that, don't you?
Listen. The point of the story is, did you know that Connie Francis is the most commercially successful female singer of all time?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, what about those duets with the Pixies that she did?
Well, yeah.
That's what I want to hear.
Worldwide sales of 200 million records.
What, you mean she's bigger than Madonna? Is that what you're telling me?
What?
Are you telling me she's bigger than Madonna?
Bigger than Madonna?
Bigger than Beyonce?
Yeah, Connie Francis. Bigger than all of them.
Huh?
Bigger than Diana Ross.
Bigger than Rihanna?
Yeah, absolutely, right? And
are you sure?
Yeah, I'm absolutely certain.
Where are you getting this rubbish from?
No, because I'm
the Colin Francis yearbook.
No, I do all my research into the history of music and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And the interesting thing about her was she once said, "It's time to write my autobiography." So her agent got her a publishing deal. Right. And then the autobiography that she produced, the manuscript she wrote with a writer, turned out to be 1,400 pages long. Right. And normally, you're talking about...
Normally sort of 400 or 500.
Yeah, that's right, 400 or 500, you know. And that was going to be longer than the autobiographies of Mrs. Thatcher and Joan of Arc combined. Although Joan of Arc didn't actually write her own autobiography because nobody was around writing in those days.
I guess the point with her was that she wouldn't have got to finish it, would she?
No,
she got burned at the stake.
That's right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, but anyway, the autobiographies of Mrs. Thatcher and the total history of Joan of Arc combined
might be more interesting.
Weren't as long as Connie Francis's. So anyway, when she was told this, Connie Francis turned round and said, "Oh yeah? And did Margaret Thatcher or Joan of Arc ever headline at the Copacabana?"
It's a very good question.
Yeah, well,
or indeed play with the Pixies.
That's right, yeah.
Which they didn't.
Pixies.
Now, I've got a great one here from Ray, who sent us a picture of a street sign, right?
Oh, yes.
And the street says Bobcat Road.
Oh, Bobcat
and
Road!
Says, Bradley's doing such a great job. Streets are being named after him. I don't know where it is, but it's obviously an American street.
Yeah.
Here's one from Becky, who says, banned cars, trucks in the city centres between 8 and 8 p.m. Plenty of empty roads then. And some stupid
and the
jokes
world of commerce collapses.
Dev says, we have squid for Christmas dinner. It's cheap and everybody gets a leg.
It's a leg.
Get it?
That's a joke.
Yeah, it is.
Squid's got 8 legs,
and then Pete says,
"I squid like an octopus."
Yes.
8 legs.
Actually, no, it hasn't really got legs, a squid. He's not got that right. An octopus has tentacles, which appear to be legs.
The squid
has more... I wouldn't describe them as legs.
They're like little fingers on the bottom.
No, they're not really fingers. They're more like sort of tentacles as well.
Tentacles, yeah, okay.
I mean, it doesn't walk on them. Squid sort of swims sideways.
That's right, yeah.
I tried to get octopus to go with my chips, but it kept turning the gas off, says Pete, which is a bit daft as well. Yeah. Now, how about this from Marcus? He said, my last university exam is tomorrow. I told my girlfriend I'm studying, but instead I'm listening to my favourite radio show.
Excellent.
Wish me luck.
Good man.
Well,
What's his name?
It's not a good idea to lie to your girlfriend, Marcus. Marcus.
Yeah. Well, good luck, mate, in the exam. So don't worry about it, by the way.
That's Marcus in Barbados, by the way. Every time I say his name, I have to remind you.
I'm going to Barbados.
And you sing the same song, and I say to you...
With the sunny Caribbean Sea.
And I say to you that he's the guy that, remember, tweeted us in that night and said, should I go to work? Because the hurricane was coming. And you told him to go to work and not be a slacker.
Yeah, that's right.
And half the island was wiped out.
That's right, half the island was wiped out. But he survived, thank God for that. Yeah. What you need to do is, mate, take, lots of Red Bull to keep you awake. Yeah.
No, do not take lots of Red Bull. That is very bad advice.
And then just do a bit of cramming. That's how I got through all my exams. And look where I ended up.
Look where you ended up. Look at you failed in an academic way, though. If anybody wants to be an academic, they should not be copying you. Stoddard says this.
Should.
Zero is derived from Italian and arrived in England in the 1500s.
Really?
Nothing to do with America at all.
Oh, okay.
This is going back to our conversation about, zero or O.
If you say so. Now then, you know that people sometimes pull a sickie, so to speak, to get out of work?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've never pulled a sickie in my life.
Neither have I. Do you know what people are doing this year?
What do you mean, you pulled a sickie for 7 months?
Well, that wasn't my fault. My heart collapsed. I had acute heart failure and nearly died.
Did you have a doctor's note?
Well, you didn't need a doctor's note. I mean, the fact that I was confined to a bed and I was plugged into a heart monitor machine and a respirator, gave somebody the hint that I wasn't quite fit enough to come to work. But anyway, the latest sickie is being pulled this year, in particular, to the office party.
The office party? What, you mean people aren't going?
They just don't want to go.
Really?
Just don't want to go. It says
do you think it's because it's now riddled with political correctness and people are frightened of getting into situations that they can't get out of?
I think it might be. Christmas party has become unappealing to many in the office. More than a third admitting they now invent minor illnesses to get out of them. A survey found 37% admit to pulling a social sickie in the past year. Of these, 49 did so to avoid meeting up with friends, while 40% used non-existent ailments to dodge office socials. And now that
you say something else there.
No, office socials. Now that the Christmas season is here, there's a mass sort of rejection of the office party.
Because there's no more photocopying parts of your anatomy now. There's no more snogging the boss or snogging the secretaries or snogging the salesman or anything like that.
Yeah.
Getting drunk and ending up sleeping on the floor. That's all gone.
It's all gone.
Can't do any of that.
Do you know who did this survey, by the way? It's amazing. It says nearly a fifth of 2,000 adults surveyed said they will miss the Christmas office party this year. This comes in a survey organised by Fisherman's Friend Lozenges.
How bizarre.
Fisherman's Friend.
Right, we'll come back to that. Fisherman's Friend.
They're very hot sweets, aren't they?
Used to be an old joke about that.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Yeah.
The Two Mikes, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Hey, set me free. Stupid Cupid, stop picking on me.
What do you think of pedants?
Sorry?
What do you think of pedants?
Pedants?
Pedants,
People who are pedants, you mean?
Yes, pedants.
I think they're, miserable and curmudgeonly.
Really? I've got one here called Peter.
Right.
It says, when you read the telephone number out, can you please stop spelling it? They are zeros and not O's, numbers, not letters. Because I say 087. That was how we started the show after 2:15 when we played Connie Francis.
Well, why did you ask me about pedants?
Well, I didn't know you were playing Connie Francis for a reason.
Well, you see, I introduce a bit of musical,
and then because of your
spice into the show, and you just completely ignored
your
it.
short-term attention problem, which is now down to about 3 minutes.
9.
Because I threw you off the subject with
9.
pedants, you didn't know what to say. Now, going back to Connie Francis, Lee says this: Madonna is number 1, Britney Spears is in at 15, and Connie Francis is nowhere to be seen in the chart I looked at.
Yes, well...
Hashtag plank.
Yes, but the reason I can tell you that I know it's right is that it's been measured at modern-day prices. You see what I mean? I mean, Connie Francis was selling LPs...
Oh, is this about a money figure or about a number?
A monetary figure, and Connie Francis was selling LPs in the days when they cost, 58 cents.
No, but surely the chart is about the number of copies sold, not the amount of money made.
Well, I think you'll find on both, Connie Francis is right up there.
Really?
Now, I've got a great message here, and it says... Hey, who's that on the line? Could it be Bobcat Cod? She relates to the cod shortage. I like that.
That's not bad.
We haven't said much about Bobcat.
Yeah, funnily enough, we did talk about him a little bit on the warm-up on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go over old ground.
No, but he had a great result, didn't
However, the problem with Bobcat Bob is that he was saying just before the game against Sunderland that he was fed up with people mimicking his accent.
I know he did,
And you are the chief protagonist of that, are you not?
No, I'm not the chief protagonist at all.
I think you might be in receipt of my learned friend's letter.
No.
It's coming soon from Swansea way.
No.
To say, please cease and desist, like that guy from the Beatles rang you that time.
What do they say? The guy from Sony?
The guy from Sony,
yeah. That's right, yeah. Asked me why I was violating, a breach of copyright with millions of dollars to the Beatles.
By the way, William, who's a regular correspondent, sent us a note saying earlier, which I haven't got the exact thing in front of me, saying that this was the anniversary of the day that the Beatles signed up with Brian Epstein.
Was it really?
Yeah.
There's so many anniversaries for the Beatles over the years. Every day of their life, if you took a day in the life of the Beatles, they did something, didn't they? On Bobcat, by the way, I think you'll find that he will be of the opinion that... Is the expression imitation is the finest form of flattery?
Yes.
Is that right?
Sincerest form of flattery.
Sincerest form of flattery. Yeah. Somebody say, Bobcat Bob, gonna push the envelope.
Making plays.
Yeah, making plays and get on my radar.
Mickey says this: does Porky realise that Bobcat Bob has 8 points from his 8 games at Swansea, which is 2 more than Ronald Koeman and Everton during the same period? Which is pretty astonishing. I actually sent a tweet out saying in the last 3 games, Bobcat has got 6 points, and Jurgen Klopp, who is the darling of the Premier League,
got 1.
No, last 3 games.
That's 3. Sorry, he's got
4.
4. That's right. Yeah.
So Bobcat is actually maybe he'll get manager of the month.
Well, I don't think he's quite in that sort of exaltant...
I think my original pronunciation that he would do well in the Premier League is going to be borne out, as indeed was my original pronunciation about Claudio Ranieri.
I see, by the way, that Brendan Rodgers is getting awards like Manager of the Month up in Scotland and all that. There's not a lot of competition there, is there?
Well, I don't know what you'd have to do to get Manager of the Month if you weren't the Celtic manager.
Exactly, yeah.
Would you have to, win a couple of games?
I don't know. But, I mean, look,
I'm
very pleased for the fact that Celtic there. But I heard one of their players today saying, Brendan Rodgers brought back a sense of enterprise to the club. He's given us all, a great fillip. We enjoy training now and all that. But there's no competition to Celtic in Scotland. You can't fail. If I manage Celtic, they would be in the position they are now.
Yeah, but you'd have to say he's doing a bit better than Ronnie Delia was, wasn't he? The guy who was there before.
Well, I thought he did all right, old Ronnie, and I thought he was quite a modest man.
But Brendan got them into the Champions League group stage, which Delia didn't manage. Did
well, yeah, that's. Look, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that it should be put into perspective because Celtic without powerful Rangers are so dominant that they should win everything, and it should come as no surprise. But I'm not knocking anybody. Yeah. I know that you can only play what's on the pitch in front of you, and therefore clocking up result after result after result, win after win after win is expected of you.
Yes.
But you've got to get the job done. I understand that.
Now, Mark explains in very sort of eloquent way why it's O instead of 0. He says the name's Bond, James Bond, 007. Doesn't work, does it?
No, it doesn't work at all.
Absolutely doesn't work.
007.
Peter says this, I hate office parties, mostly because I have to throw them. I own a small company and my employees want one every year.
Yeah.
And I do it if it makes them happy.
Well, that's good bonding between management and the workers.
Did you ever used to throw a party when you were in charge?
Now, let me think.
No, you didn't, because you weren't ever really in charge.
Yes, I was, yeah.
No, you weren't?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
When were you in charge?
I used to draw up the guest list and that sort of stuff, you know.
Drawing up the guest list is a secretarial task.
No. I used to issue the instructions.
For what organisation?
Oh, too many to remember.
The FA?
Over the years. Yeah, the FA.
No, I don't
the
think
FA
so.
one. Yeah, I did, yeah.
You organised the FA party?
Yeah, I did.
But it's not the same as throwing it.
Well,
the chief executive, i.e. in your case, Graham Kelly.
Yeah.
Perhaps did he ask you to invite all your mates from Fleet Street?
No. Well, no, we had one of those at Christmas. We always did, but that's another story. Look, I want to talk to you about the thing I mentioned when we were doing the handover earlier on.
Oh, yeah.
This survey, which says money doesn't really make you happy.
Yes.
What a ridiculous proposition.
Well, it's not a ridiculous proposition because I know what they mean by that.
Hey?
I know what they mean by that.
Research into Britain's well-being found that raising income does not result in a happier society, and eliminating poverty...
that's a different thing, isn't it?
And eliminating poverty would only reduce misery by 5%. This is all rubbish. The study looked at international surveys involving 200,000 people. It found that being in a relationship has a greater impact on a person's happiness than getting a pay rise.
Yeah, I think that's true.
On a scale of 0 to 10, doubling a person's income raised their happiness by under 0.2 points.
Yeah.
In comparison, having a partner or a new relationship raised happiness by 0.6 points.
I think that's probably right.
The report is being presented to a conference at the LSE held with the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development. I mean, I just don't get it.
Well, no, what it means is this, and this is where it's been put slightly more succinctly than you have.
Yeah.
The survey found that while wealth improves your quality of life and life satisfaction,
yes,
it does not actually improve your day-to-day mood particularly very well.
Well, it does mine.
Why?
It does mine, because if I'm struggling and if I can't afford the things that I like to spend on to make life more acceptable.
More like watches and expensive cars.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, on the basics, really. You know, I mean, just what I said about before, because when there's a train strike on or a bus strike, something like that, you can afford to get a cab.
Yeah.
That makes life easier. Now, I feel really sorry for the millions of people whose budgets don't stretch to that.
Sorry.
Do you know when
Maybe you could take a couple of people with you. Why don't you put an ad in the local paper and say, look, for those people who can't afford to get to London to work because of the terrible train strike, I will single-handedly help you out because I'll be taking a cab, and in fact I'll order one of those people carriers, like a Mercedes Vito, and you get about 8 people in it.
I can't do that.
And you can pay for it, and you can drop everybody where you're going.
No, I can't do that.
Why not?
Because the organisation involved in doing something like that is too time-consuming.
Well, you don't have to do it. You give the cab number out. You say, look, there's 7 spaces with me. First come, first serve.
No.
I'm paying.
And then we've got to stop here to pick that person up.
No, you tell them to meet you at a allotted place.
And they won't turn up on time.
Well, then they don't get in.
It's the organisation thing, and I'm not putting myself to that sort
so
of
you don't feel sorry for
pressure
them
and stress. I do feel sorry.
No, you don't.
I tell you what, I remember when I was Supremo at the Daily Express in Fleet Street.
Yeah, a lot of people remember that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Not very fondly.
We used to whiz all over the place.
I hated you then, and I hate you now.
Yeah, I didn't like you then, and I don't like you now. In fact, I hated you then, and I hate you now. That was from Jim.
Jim Watson.
Jim Watson, who was my assistant news editor on the desk, and probably the most idle man I think that I've ever worked with.
I don't know if it was your responsibility to move him onto the picture desk.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we used to
somebody
every night,
did after I left. Yeah.
After you left and I was there, one of the most amusing things to do at night, just before we all left the office, was to hear his phone call to various photographers around the country, briefing them about where to go.
Yes.
Because he had this manner of speaking, which you've done rather well. And he would always spell out the name of the street.
I need you
to go to Presbury Street. That's P-R-E. And then somebody would always go, what? What's that? No, E. No, E. It was a P-R-E. And it was ridiculously funny.
And it's in Banbury.
And we would all fall about laughing.
B-A-N-B-U-R-Y.
And he was completely oblivious to the fact that everyone behind him was just laughing.
Exactly. Now, he had a mate called Brian Cashinella, who was worse. Brian Cashinella was, in fact, a fantasist. He was a complete fantasist.
I hate that.
And what happened was, these two used to sit there, and they used to be what's called copy tasters.
Yeah.
So they didn't really have a job, because in those days, the stories used to come in on pieces of paper called copy.
Right.
And they weren't on electronic machines, so they'd just pass down the desk.
Yeah.
And people would
they would literally have a spike, wouldn't they?
Have a spike and get rid of that's no good and all that kind of stuff. This one, they pass it on to us and say this is worth looking at and all that kind of stuff, But that was
it was meant to be a filtering process.
It was meant to be a filtering process, but I mean, it was massively overstaffed, the news desk, and they didn't have a job. So what they used to do is you used to organise this rota to go on a 6-hour lunchtime drinking session, and one would go out for 2 hours and then come back, the other one would go out for an hour and come back, and the other one would go out for 2 hours again. And not just them, I mean, other members of the news desk and all that. But Cashinella was a fantasist. He used to tell ridiculous stories about, tales of derring do and all this kind of stuff.
Well, with him at the centre of it.
Him at the centre of it. And he was permanently broke because he was a fantasist. So sometimes he'd do things like he'd say, I'll just nip out for a 10-minute,
See a contact.
Yeah. And he's the only one I've ever seen who used to sprint into pubs. I mean, he was that keen to get into the air, but he never had any money. So then he'd come back and say he'd been mugged and somebody had taken his wallet on the way to the pub.
Really?
Could I lend him a £5? Yeah, he's a complete fantasist.
That's ridiculous.
We had a photographer once working in Spain on a story. And all Cashinella was supposed to do was take his call and say, right, job's over, is it? Yeah. And I've got the pictures back. Right, okay. Yeah, get off to the airport and we'll see you back tomorrow. Cashinella would do this. Okay, mate, so the pictures are back, are they? Yeah. And okay, now I want you to do me a favour, okay? Because he was a fantasist, these things just came into his head. He said, I'm having a villa built 35 miles up the road from where you are now. Could you get up there, mate, and just go and see the foreman and just check for me on how
bizarre.
Yeah, exactly, on the progress of it. So the guy at the other end, because he is junior to Mr. Cashinella, who was an assistant news editor, thought, all right, Brian, I'll do you a favour. I'll miss my flight. Doesn't matter. You get a flight later. When you get up the road, son, he says, it's on the crossroads between this village and I want to find out how it's going and has he done the foundations right? This guy would then spend a day trying to find the place. Imaginary villa, which would never even...
So he'd never find it?
Well, it didn't exist. Right. It was all complete fantasy. He was the strangest man in the world. I think he's dead now, actually. But if he's not, give us a call and perhaps explain.
That's 08717 223344.
Explain what happened to the villa.
Yeah. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. How about this from Tom, the Everton fan? He says, me and my girlfriend both really enjoyed your show in Edinburgh during the festival. It was great to meet you both, and thanks for the picture.
I think that's Tom we met outside the assembly rooms, didn't we?
Well, it would have been, I presume, yeah.
Don't remember when he said he had to go and get his train?
No, that was a different Everton guy, because he didn't have a girlfriend with him. This is a guy who had a girlfriend with him.
Okay. Yeah, well, Tom, thanks very much indeed for that, and hope we see you again sometime.
And how about this from Steve, who says, hang on a minute, I don't remember the American show being called Beverly Hills 90210.
That's right.
I'm sure it was pronounced 90210.
Yeah, that's
which,
right.
Of course, it was.
It was, yeah.
So whoever that guy was, the pedant.
Yes.
Who talked earlier about, in America it's zero.
Yeah, no, it's not zero.
Absolute rubbish.
It's not zero.
Caroline says, great interview on fish and climate change. Pretty scary stuff. See?
Well, it is scary stuff if we take it at face value, but I always feel that...
Did you like it when he said my question was a great question? Did you enjoy that?
He only said it was a great question because it gave him another opportunity to bang the old, we're destroying the world type drum.
Because I was asking him a particularly pertinent question.
I want to know a part of the world, right, in the last 35 years, which has been flooded and now is uninhabitable because of rising...
Stoke Newington.
Right, because of rising...
Stoke Newington.
Well, that was a burst water main.
Well, you're still uninhabitable.
There's been 3 of those in a week. Well, one in Islington, flooded Camden Passage. Yeah. One in Stoke Newington.
Never good.
and one somewhere outside of London.
The other one, which was the one that screwed me up trying to get out of South East London, which was in Lewisham.
That's
Lee
right,
High Road.
Yeah.
And here's a weird thing, right? I was coming up to London last night.
Yeah.
And as I always do, I'm trying to sort of work out which road is going to be blocked.
Yes.
You never know. Last night they were going to close off the A21 at 8 p.m.
Right.
So I had to get out of there before they shut it down. Yep. The whole road. From basically Sevenoaks down to, the deepest parts of Sussex. Right?
Yeah.
So for a good bulk of the road, it was going to be shut.
Really?
As I was coming around the M25, it said A2, severe delays.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, OK, well, I'll go a different way because you can go the A20. Took the A20, right? You're keeping up with this?
Yes, I am.
You don't look very interested.
No, I am.
The A20 problem is if you go in that way, then you have to come across the burst water main in Lee High Road. Which happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Yeah.
They still haven't fixed it.
No, they're nowhere near fixing it. We saw that picture, didn't we? The Japanese collapse. There was a sinkhole in a Japanese road.
It was like a sink sort of cavern.
It was.
It was a massive hole which consumed about 4 or 5 lanes of traffic.
That's right.
And the buildings were about to fall in. They fixed it in a week, didn't they?
No, they fixed it in less than that. They fixed it in about 3 or 4 days. Yeah, It was amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got some good news for you.
Have you?
Because, I told you earlier about, don't ever get onto the Botox, because if you do, you'll end up having to have plastic surgery. Yes. In fact, I have found a way to preserve what few looks you've got left.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, without... by the way, do you see that thing about the bloke who went into a hairdresser's?
Yeah.
Like you do. And when they make you put your head back into the basin, and in the basin there is a cut in the basin to accommodate your neck.
Your neck.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Specially designed basin.
Yeah, specially designed backwards basin.
That's right, yeah, and you put your hair back. And it's quite relaxing, actually, isn't it?
It's lovely having your hair washed. Do you like it?
Well...
John, when you go to see John, the Italian guy who opens up specially for you...
My coiffeur.
Does he bring you somebody to wash your hair, or does he do that?
Usually, I don't ask him to wash it. Usually, I put an old shirt on, I go there, get my hair done, and I go straight back home into the shower. Because I prefer to do it that way.
What, you say he doesn't cut it wet?
No.
Well, why do you have to put your head in the sink?
Well, no, I'm not saying that I do it. He does cut it wet, actually, but he uses a spray on my hair as
you
he's
haven't got very much hair, have you?
I've got lots of hair. But anyway, he
could use one of those Evian sprays, couldn't he?
It is like that,
People used to spray themselves with in New York.
But, that's right, yeah, actually it is one of those, yeah. But I'm surprised you didn't see the story. So the chap puts his head back, right, and... Sorry, what's your problem?
I just read this tweet from Glenn.
Yeah.
He said, Porky spends 5 minutes lambasting Brian, then says, "Oh, Brian, if you're still alive, give me a call. Because I'm done."
Yeah. But anyway, so what happened was this poor chap, as his neck hit the cold sink and then the water hit the front of his face, he had a stroke.
What?
He had a stroke. Because what happens is, and it happens about 1 in 1,000 of people who put their head back and things, you trap a nerve or a blood vessel in the back of your neck and you get an aneurysm. And the poor chap it's a recorded medical case. The poor chap, so, I'm not saying that you're in danger when you go into a hairdresser's.
Well, as long as you're not trying to cause any anguish or your panic.
Yeah, but anyway...
presumably he must have been at risk of suffering an aneurysm, whatever that is.
You assume he was vulnerable to it in some way. Because
an aneurysm?
No, an aneurysm.
You're not an aneurysm?
No, an aneurysm.
What's the difference?
Well, an aneurysm is the medical complaint where a blood vessel expands and bloats in the back of your head.
I thought it was an aneurysm.
No, it's an aneurysm.
Aneurysm?
Yeah, aneurysm.
Sure?
Yeah, certain, yeah, certain, honestly. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure it's A-N-E-U.
It
aneurysm.
Is. Aneurysm.
Aneurysm.
It's pronounced aneurysm, and it's a well-known medical condition, OK? I know about these things.
No, you don't.
I've got lots of medical experience,
no, you don't know medical experience at
all. Now then, talking about medical... Talking about medical, the prospect of having your face frozen to keep your looks is a growing... I mean, you know that terrible story a few weeks ago about the poor little girl who wanted to body frozen forever and all that kind of stuff. Cryogenics. Well, this, funny enough, is called the cryotherapy energising facial. And they put a mask on your face and they lower the air in the mask to minus 30 degrees centigrade. It's blown through a nozzle onto your skin.
What, is this what they do when you give you Botox?
No, this is instead of Botox.
Oh, I see.
This is instead of Botox. It's called the cryotherapy energising facial. Air is low to minus 30 degrees, blown through a nozzle. It boosts circulation and oxygenates the skin to a peachy glow. Okay,
peachy glow.
Yeah,
I like a peachy glow.
That's right. Yeah.
It's similar. It's a similar look to having your face burned off, I presume.
But look at the mask they put on you. See, I'm going to show you a picture here from the medical journal I got this from. See the mask.
Yeah, I don't like the look of that.
Looks horrible, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks ghostly.
It looks very ghostly.
Well, I'll tell you what,
the coldest place... improve your face.
The coldest place I've ever been in my life was Chicago.
Chicago,
when I was
Chicago.
There. And I was actually
kind of town, kind of town.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I was on my way to Arizona. Funnily enough,
right,
for what you would call a facility trip,
that
I'd been sent on. It was a golfing trip, actually. We had to fly through Chicago. So we had a night in Chicago, but it was about minus 25 Fahrenheit.
I've been in Chicago,
something like that, right?
Honestly.
And I and they were warning people not to go out.
Right,
it was so cold.
Yes,
but I thought, well, I'm not going to go out. I'm going to have to just wander the streets and check it all out. And there was frozen, huge piles of snow everywhere. I put and this happened to me once when I was skiing. I put a scarf around because you can't breathe very well.
That's right.
In that kind of cold.
That's right, you can't.
And
in fact, it's quite dangerous to breathe because you're damaging your lungs.
Yeah. And basically, the scarf became so solid that I could punch myself in the scarf.
Yeah.
Because my breath had frozen it.
Yes.
And it wouldn't hurt me because it didn't touch my face. It was like a wall of wool.
And how much did you have to drink at this stage?
I hadn't anything to drink.
Rubbish.
I was walking down the street.
That's why you could punch yourself in the face.
No. My point is that the barrier caused by the frozen scarf meant that it was almost like holding a hand in front of your face.
Yeah.
That's how strong it was.
Yeah. And what's the point of this story?
The point of the story is that when I came back into the hotel,
right,
the part of my face that had been exposed to the very, very cold air, which is almost as cold as what you're describing, it was completely numb.
Right.
My whole face was numb.
Yeah.
And I don't remember particularly having a peachy glow about me.
Didn't have a peachy glow,
and, I don't think it was that good for me.
I've been in Chicago when it's been that cold, and you can always tell when it's getting rather cold because the lake's frozen.
Yeah.
I mean, solid.
Well, Lake Michigan was frozen, with the wave frozen. It was amazing.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. As the water laps ashore, it freezes in the moment that it arches into a wave.
Yeah.
And it's very dramatic. And what a great city Chicago is.
I love Chicago.
Because there's so many tall
buildings
there.
I think it's my second favourite American city, actually.
I love Chicago. And it used to have the tallest building in America, didn't it? The Sears Roebuck Tower.
The Sears Tower, yeah.
Which is now still there, but it's named something else now. But is
it not still the Sears Tower?
No, it's not.
Is it that John Hancock Tower or something?
Something like that, yeah.
The insurance company.
And although it hasn't got the tallest building, it's got more tall buildings than New York.
Yeah.
Because of they all run along the canals there, I went to...
I don't know if that's true, actually.
No, it is.
Not now.
I think it is.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay. But there's two papers there, Chicago Tribune.
Yeah.
And I went and saw the guy there who was the editor, just because it's a very famous newspaper.
Yeah.
But then, in those days... one
of them was a Murdoch-owned paper.
I was about to say, the Murdoch organisation owned the other one, which was the Chicago...
I can't remember. Was it the Dispatch, maybe?
No, it wasn't. It had two words, like Life Tribune or something like that. Chicago...
Sun Tribune?
Sun Tribune. I think it might have been. Something like that, yeah. But, no, a great city. But anyway, look, you get your face frozen like that, it could give you your looks for another...
Well, are you going to try and do
10
that?
years. No. I don't... You see, I don't worry about it. When I was with my coiffurist the other day, he said that some guy had come in to have his hair cut, and he said he'd spent, like, thousands of pounds on having a hair weave on his head at the same Harley Street clinic where Wayne Rooney got his done.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was very expensive, wasn't it?
It was very expensive, yeah. And I said, well... aren't you in danger of pulling the hair out when he cut it? He said, no, it was remarkably good. He said he couldn't even tell it was new hair.
Well, Wayne Rooney's hair now looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
In fact, we know a guy who's on television who's had a similar thing done, and his now looks good.
Yes, it does, yeah, I agree.
You don't have to give his name away.
Yeah, but I wouldn't bother having it done.
No.
I mean,
the rest of you is so useless. There's no point in making your hair look nice.
I am what you see,
Yeah, sadly.
You
see... Disappointing.
No, you see what I am. This is the point.
I do see what you are.
And if I'm in a...
And I'm one of the few people that does.
If I walk into a bar and there's a very attractive barmaid behind the counter, and I'm saying to myself, I'm thinking to myself, what an attractive young lady.
Yeah.
I don't then think, will she fancy me because I've not got as much hair as I had when I was 25? I don't think that at all.
What do you think?
I think, you take me or leave me. I am what I am. What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Okay?
How's that technique working for you?
I haven't got any problems with trying to be something I'm not. I wouldn't put false bits of anything on my body.
No.
Not at all.
So when you impersonated Noel Edmonds' brother...
No, that was when I was a youngster. That was a joke.
Was it?
A joke.
Worked, though,
Don't worry about it, eh?
Worked.
I didn't need it, really. It was just a bit of a fanciful joke, you know what I mean?
Freddie says this.
Yeah.
Is Cashinella the oaf responsible for training the fat man in fantasisation? Maybe you should do a séance to contact him.
I told you, didn't I, just on the Cashinella thing? He invited me round to a golf day once. When we got there, it didn't exist. I mean, he was a complete nutter. But he didn't realise it, you know. He was just off his rocker.
Yeah. Well, thank God he was
I don't know if it got on his journalism.
Thank God he was in a responsible position on the Daily Express.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Hello, this is Tim Vine on Talk Sport. It's Mike Parry's post bag. I can't wait to see what's in there.
Postman Pork, Postman Pork, I eat my chips with just a fork, 'cause then I can still talk.
Possibly the worst piece of singing you've ever done.
I don't think so.
But it's so bad we have to keep it, really, don't we?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So Postman Pork, relatively new feature. This is you unveiling before our very eyes and ears people's correspondence with you.
Absolutely.
And the great thing about it is you open it live on air.
I do.
That you haven't had a chance to pre-read it.
I haven't.
So you read it for the first time.
Absolutely.
What have we got?
Well, as you can imagine, at this time of the year, there's a lot of sort of festive communications.
Yeah.
But I'll go for one first, which doesn't look necessarily like a Christmas card.
Doesn't it?
I'm opening it now.
Okay. What does it look like?
It looks... Well, it's a big white letter, and it's got my name and address written on the front.
Is it just to you, then, is it? Not to the two of us?
It's just to me.
Is it? Okay.
Here we go. Right. Dear Mike,
yeah.
I have added 2 other segments to the format for the TV quiz show. The panic button. Could you both have a look at the format I've sent you?
What TV quiz show?
Well, I think he means the weekly quiz.
All right.
I think he means the weekly quiz.
You sure this is not someone who's come up with a new show for you?
No, I don't think so, no. Now, this is from a guy called...
Don't give away his full name.
Well, his name's Clifford.
Clifford?
Clifford, yeah.
Not Max Clifford.
No, Max Clifford, no.
It's not like
that would have to come from HMP somewhere.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Prison notepaper.
But anyway, he says, Dear Mike, I've added 2 segments to the format for the TV quiz show. I think he means the quiz show. He says, the panic button.
Yeah.
And... it's a diagram of the panic button. So it's very kind.
That's great, yeah.
It is.
He's put a lot of thought into it.
There's 6 buttons on the panic button. Right. I mean, this is really detailed stuff.
High tech.
But he's also very kindly written a song.
Has he?
Called The Panic Button.
All right.
And it says, if you're hitting 3 off the tee and useless at putting, don't fling your clubs in the lake, just press the panic button. When your love life takes a tumble, don't become a lonely heart, lost in the jungle, just press the panic button. So this is a new feature he wants us to introduce into the
Porky Quiz.
The Porky Quiz, and it comes...
when do you press the panic button, though? Does he explain that?
I haven't got into that
yet.
There's quite a few instructions there.
Do I press it?
No, you don't press it.
No, I don't press it.
So Clifford from Stonycroft in Liverpool, I want to say thank you.
You don't have to say where.
Well, I want to say thank you very much indeed. That will be given due consideration.
Yeah, okay.
Right, let's open another one. It does look a bit festive,
Shall I put it in the possibles tray?
Put it in the possibles, please. Yeah. Now, people have cottoned on to what
amazing it got here, actually.
Yeah, it says, yeah.
Because he didn't...
what?
He didn't put a postcode on it.
Oh, didn't it? What did you say? TalkSport, London?
Says TalkSport Radio, Waterloo, London.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, he got it. Well, thank you very much once again to the postman. That's just the envelope, by the way.
Yeah.
That you're tearing up. Now, this one... I love the way people have got into the thing, because this one is to the 2 of us, right? But it says on the back, push the envelope! So
that's very good.
So obviously that's a Bobcat Bob thing, yeah. So I'll open this now. Here we go. And it says, excessive drinking causes confusion.
Yes.
Now, the thing is, that's what it says on the front.
Yeah.
But, of course, the card is upside down.
Ah, I see. Very
so
clever.
when you open it, you see, and then when you look at it inside, it's all upside down again.
Oh, it's very sparkly inside, isn't it?
So it says, Dear Mike and Porky, have a fab Christmas and the best of 2017. Warm regards, Lucy. Lucy, thank you very much indeed. And a load of, as you say, glittery stuff. See what I mean. Lucy, thank you very much.
I wonder if there was a Lucy who tweeted a picture of you earlier.
Well,
who's involved in an art project.
Yeah.
And she's using a picture of you on her art project.
Oh, really? OK. Well, I'm passing this over to Mr. Graham. And I have to say, because of the dazzling inside, we could say Lucy in the sky with diamonds connection.
We could.
Right. Now, here's another one. Now, listen, this is interesting. I just found this without an envelope.
Do you know this is the same Lucy because she's put her Twitter address on it? I've just checked. It's the same one.
Excellent.
I'll show you that picture.
Now, we know, you remember young Finn?
Young Finn, yes, indeed. Yeah.
Now, I've got a note here from him.
One of your biggest and youngest fans.
And I think this is current, although this arrived without an envelope, so I don't know whether the envelope got torn or something. But it says, Dear Mr. Graham, so it's addressed to you.
So it's addressed to me?
Yeah.
OK. Well, you read it out anyway.
OK. It says, could you please congratulate Mr. Parry on such an impressive result in the Clint Eastwood quiz?
Clint Eastwood?
Yeah.
That was months ago.
No, it was a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
No.
As my hero, I was very angry when he was accused of cheating. He always set such a good example, an honourable man. My end-of-year exams are approaching. Actually, this must be a long time ago. I wonder why this is. I don't understand.
I think it somehow made it way. Well, has it not gone through the ringer already, this one?
I think it really has. But anyway, on the Porky quiz, where you were constantly robbed of points, well done, best of luck. It's from Finn. Well, anyway.
Has it got a date on it?
It has not a date on it, no. Right, let's. So anyway, Finn, thank you very much indeed. Let's open this one here. See what this is from. But it's always nice to mention Finn because, of course, he's a big fan of the show.
He is a big fan of the show. Yeah. Right, it's a family show. That's the way he likes it.
Family show, yeah. Right, here we go. Merry Christmas. Right. Now then, this is odd. It says to MG and Porky, writing to Postman Pork to wish you all the best for Christmas and the New Year.
Yes.
I hope Mr. Parry appreciates the first-class stamp, as he once said second-class stamps were for half-bakes. Did I? I don't remember saying that. Anyway, the stamp is a very impressive stamp.
No, I think you have said that.
If I send it to you, it's a stamp with a picture of John Charles on it. John Charles, the greatest ever Welsh footballer.
Oh, yeah.
And it says...
is that just newly issued, then?
Well, I think so. It says
it's
also...
It's a company, it says.
Both said football stickers were for half-bakes, but hope the attached old sticker of your colleague, and I won't tell you who it is for the moment, will change your opinion. Thanks for all the great shows this year. Best wishes, 2017, Steve in Birmingham.
There you go.
And the picture is of my old colleague, Andy Townsend.
Oh, is it?
And he's put that inside the card, so I'll just pass that over to Mr. Graham. Have a look at that, right?
Very nice.
Now, I'm going to do a non-Christmas one now, see what this is all about.
Well, he looks young in that picture, doesn't he, Andy?
He looks very young, doesn't he? Yeah, but young would. Now, here, Mr. Graham, there is one addressed to you independently, so I think you should open that.
Do you want me to open this one myself? Is that allowed under the Porky, Postman Porky?
It is addressed to you, so it's not strictly a Postman Pork.
Well, I don't mind you opening mine.
No? Okay. Well,
here's hoping your Christmas is awesome. Is as awesome as me.
Yes.
And it's from Jennifer. That's very nice.
Oh, yes?
Jennifer is one of our fans down in Wales.
Oh, right.
Dear Mike, you and yours a continued success for 2017.
Yes.
Or was that 2017?
That's 2017. Right, to all the two, Mike, this is another one. Thank you for that, Jennifer. I've got one here, which I'll open in a minute. Right, this is from Johnny. Okay.
Johnny.
And he says, you can read my name out, so it's Johnny Meckelwright.
Here's Johnny.
And it's Johnny. And he says, to the two Mikes, I typed this letter instead of writing it out as Porky clearly has the reading age of a child, and I don't want him struggling along. Anyway, although I love Postman Pork, I think the jingle could do with some work, so I've included the first verse of my adapted version of the Postman Pat theme tune for you.
Okay.
So I will sing this to that. This will be most effective if you could sing this to the tune of Postman Pat. Okay. Ask MG if you need vocal advice.
Shall I get my finger on a dump button?
It goes like this. No, there's nothing rude about it. Postman Pork, Postman Pork, Postman Pork, how he loves to talk about his sister's awning. So very, very boring. He fills the airwaves with his useless facts. So,
not bad. You lost the tune somewhere in the middle there.
So that's Johnny.
That is quite good. But you couldn't really sing it yourself, could you?
Not really. So, yeah, I know expert lyricists like Paul McCartney, but I hope you appreciate the effort to rhyme. We certainly do, Johnny, and that's very good of you. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. So that's another one.
All right.
Right, now I've got this one I've got this one here, and this has got something in it.
Because
really? there's a you can tell
there's white powder.
No, not powder, but I mean you can tell it's not just a card. There's something else. Right, I'm going to open this one.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. And this has got a first-class stamp with a red robin on it, so that's very seasonal.
Okay.
And I've opened this. Right, here we go. And now there's a self-return letter here. Claire.
Oh, you mean a self-addressed stamped envelope?
Yes. Right. It says. Now this is from Larbert. Larbert in Falkirk.
Larbert as a place, you mean?
Larbert as a place.
This is not like Eric Lepper, is it?
No, it's not Eric Lepper. So it says, hi guys, hope you're good. No, it says, hi Mike, actually. Hi Porky, hope you're good. I must say, 2016, great year for me and my partner Claire, and it's been made all the better by having old MG and yourself as part of it. We love listening to you guys and had the fortune to come and see you in Edinburgh earlier in the year.
Oh, good.
I haven't lasted as much since and can still feel the strain in my belly. Oh, I didn't know the shows were that good in Edinburgh.
No, well, he probably remembers them.
They're on the DVD.
Yeah.
Right, Claire and I just want to wish you both a very happy Christmas and a bladderated New Year. As a surprise for Claire, would it be possible for yourself and MG to wish Claire a happy Christmas in the attached card? It would make her Christmas. I've enclosed an envelope with a return address stamp. Hopefully I have a few minutes to do this. Well, it won't be a surprise anymore, Ross. But nevertheless, sorry. It says as a surprise, but yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
there you go.
I'm afraid we've blown the surprise there.
Yeah,
but
never mind.
But, that's
don't worry. That's fine. We can do that, right?
That will be returned.
Although, because of the upcoming industrial action, we can't guarantee that it will get there in time.
We'll try and get it back as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. I've got one here. It just says Mike Parry, so that's clearly to me. So I'll just open this one up and see what's in here. Bit of a cheap-looking card, this, to be honest. But anyway,
really? That's not very nice.
Here we go. You are radio's best broadcaster. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
That's nice. So he sends you a lovely card, and you slag off the card.
Yeah, but it says all the best, Mike P. So I don't know if that's from a Mike P. And I wasn't slagging it off, by the way. That was a joke, believe me. It again has this is a person of quality because it has a first-class stamp on the front. The three wise men stopping on their way to see baby Jesus in Bethlehem.
Baby Jesus?
Yeah.
Really?
That's what he's called. Right, okay, so I've got that one. Now then, this one
Imagine if we were the two wise men.
That's right. This one is from Jennifer, I think, isn't it?
I don't know.
Was yours from Jennifer?
It.
Well, whose was yours from?
Well, mine was from Jennifer, yeah.
Okay, I keep bashing the old mic when I'm...
Yeah. You've got to go a bit slower.
Here we go.
I'm going to bash it again.
Yeah. Right, here we go.
Jumping out of bed.
Okay, dear Mike Porky, best wishes 2017, Jennifer. Is it Jennifer?
It is Jennifer.
It is Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you very much indeed. That's very, very kind of you, my dear. And then...
I think we're nearly out of time.
Nearly out of time. One more. Just open one more.
Go on, do one more.
Hang on. Let's open this up. And again, this is festive. Actually, this is quite interesting because there's a big red envelope and it says, push the envelope again on the outside. And it's addressed to the two mics. And at the bottom it says, give me respect, And then inside, when I open it, there's another little envelope with the two mics written on it.
Okay.
And this is
a bit like a Chinese puzzle.
A bit like Chinese puzzle, yeah. Here we are. We'll open this and see what's inside there. And then we have a card with a snowman on the front, very traditional snowman. Snowman. And then to Mike Parry and old MG, keep up the amazing work you do. And best wishes from the Twitter handler, and he gives an address. Aaron Rutterberg.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know
Aaron Rutter, is it? Yeah, okay.
Aaron Rutter, yeah.
And then, very, very kindly, he spent some considerable time, by the look of it, on drawing what appears to be a reproduction of our latest thumbnail print on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's not bad,
the black and white one.
Yeah.
With you with your glasses on.
Almost
your dark
life
glasses.
size.
Almost life size. Porky and Graham, weeknights from 1 a.m. on Talk Sport. Well, listen, Aaron...
He's put a lot of work into it.
Aaron Rutter, I think his name is.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Well, thank you very much indeed. That's very kind of you. Thank you to everybody who's been communicating. I'm sorry that we've only managed to open a very small percentage of the correspondence.
Yeah.
Please
We'll
keep
do another
writing.
one, same time next week.
Don't worry about
In fact, next week might be the special Christmas edition.
Special Christmas edition. So send us your Christmas cards, your Christmas wishes. Send us any letters you want.
Yeah.
Don't be put off by the strike that's happening at post offices, because apparently the posties themselves will get the mail through.
They will.
This is right, isn't it?
That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
Unlike what you said earlier.
Keep them coming, okay?
This is Talk Sport.
Thank
that
you
was
very
Postman
much.
Pork.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
The lady you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. But still before we go do it all again, you better catch your own train.
Going back to the 0 or O theme, right? How about this? Dave the Milk says, what about that great show, Hawaii 5-0? I mean, this guy is now being proved to be a complete numpty, isn't he? He says
that's
should
right.
say 0 instead of O.
That's right.
Here's one from Steve in Walton in Liverpool.
Yes.
Can't sleep because my wife is snoring. That's a very ungallant thing to reveal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
Listening to you
rather.
both has made my mind up to definitely see you live, says Steve. Well, and then he says, oh, Mike, have you got any inside information on Everton? Well, if you did have, you wouldn't be partaking of it on the radio, would you?
Well, I don't have any inside information on Everton. I'm not really an Everton insider. I am a fan. I'm trying to get as many games as I can. And, of course, tomorrow night Everton are playing Arsenal. So that's a matter of concern for Everton fans who are worried about our form. We haven't been beaten at home yet. Though we've lost our last four games away.
Well,
Can you believe that?
That'll be tonight, won't it?
Well, I hope not.
Arsenal-Everton.
I very much hope not.
I'm not sure if that's live on TalkSport or not, actually.
No, I'm not sure either. And then, talk about two crucial games. Next Monday night, we're the last...
The derby, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We're the last fixture of the weekend fixtures, if you see what I mean. And it's Monday night at Goodison again for the Everton-Liverpool game. So that will be a very stressful event indeed.
Here's one from Becky who says, hairdressers and barbers all over the country are now putting up signs warning of possible aneurysms while hair washing.
Well, no, I mean, I'm only reading to you a very factual report of what happened. The poor chap suffered a stroke and is recovering from it. But apparently it is, it happens very, very rarely indeed, but it can happen.
I'm sure it can. But, I mean, you'd have to say, if you were a hairdresser, that, presumably he might have been, unfortunately, prone to that kind of thing anyway.
You have to...
Rather than, blaming the hairdressers for it.
I mean, you're absolutely right in saying that. Sometimes people's medical conditions are triggered by the fact they've been carrying a problem for years and years and years, and one particular thing just suddenly...
When I studied law,
it
used to be known as the eggshell skull syndrome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what do you mean studied law?
I did A-level law.
A-level law? What in? What sort of law?
It was basically torts, civil law, not criminal law. I wanted to be a lawyer at one point.
Yes.
I was very good at it.
Really?
And do you know what the eggshell skull syndrome is?
Well, you got thin bone.
An unusually thin skull.
That's right. Yeah.
And the point of the story was, if you like, stemmed from a case where a guy shoved a guy over, didn't know that he had an eggshell skull.
That's right.
And as a result,
Cracked
the
his
guy
head on
died.
the pavement.
And the idea was that, is it possible to know something before an action is taken? And if you don't know the thing before the action is taken, then you can't really be held responsible for the consequences.
Yeah, can you be liable for the consequences? Yeah.
So it's interesting stuff. How about this from Vicky, who lives in Edinburgh?
Yes.
You might remember Leith Walk when we played the Edinburgh Festival.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
That was where you were staying, right?
That's right.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
You will never believe it, but they are building a bicycle lane down the middle of it.
No.
Yes, they are.
My God.
And Vicky...
It's even reached there?
Vicky is outraged. She said, can you believe this?
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid we can.
Yeah, I'm afraid we can.
Because as Porky has foretold, this will happen all over the country.
Yeah, of course it will. Yeah, good God.
Andrew says it is the John Hancock Tower. Oh, no, he says the John Hancock Tower is in Boston.
In Boston? Oh, right, OK.
I'm sure there is some kind of Hancock-related tower.
Well, it's not the Sears anymore, as it used to be Sears Roebuck. No. I've got more information on this aneurysm. It was a hairdressing salon in Brighton. It was called Headmaster's Salon in Brighton, and the salon paid out £90,000 to the customer who suffered a stroke after having his hair washed, and it's called beauty parlour syndrome.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a guy called Dave Tyler. This is a report, by the way, from this morning's Times. Collapsed during a business meeting 2 days after he'd visited the salon, but when he was taken to the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery in London, because his condition was deemed to be that serious, the consultant said, have you had your hair cut recently? Doctors believe that when his head was bent backwards over the basin to wash his hair, his neck was extended and an artery was damaged. This caused the clot that burst in his brain 2 days later, leading to a stroke.
I can see, actually, I mean, your neck is a very sensitive part of the body.
Exactly,
I mean, I've actually done something to my neck, which is preventing me from being able to fully tilt my head in all directions, but I'm sure it'll get better soon. But you can you can see how you could almost get, how almost like a pulled muscle if you move your head back too far, or you know what I mean?
Well, what it was adjudged was the lawyers made a claim against Headmaster's Salon in Brighton on the grounds that it had offered insufficient neck protection and a minimal layer of towel. It settled the case in February before it reached the court for £90,000. So what they're saying there, when your neck touches the porcelain, which is the basin, I think they're saying make sure there's a good cushioning of towel.
Like a towel, yeah.
Yeah, between your neck and the basin, because if not, then
there's normally a towel, isn't there?
Yeah, but I mean, they said insufficient, a minimal layer of towels. I think that's suggesting you fold the towel over 2 or 3 times to give it a proper cushion.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it'd be interesting to see if people are doing that the next time they visit. Now, I've sent this story by a couple of people today, or yesterday, I should say. Right. You may have seen it as well, as it was running on a couple of news outlets. Did you see the story about £420,000 worth of wine spilled in Italy as an act of sabotage?
Yeah, I saw that,
Isn't that terrible?
That's a winery, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a place called the Conti Vistarino Estate in northern Lombardy region.
Shocking.
They just opened the taps.
It's terrible. I mean,
hundreds of thousands of litres spilled into the drains and nothing was reportedly stolen from the estate.
Why would you do that? Honestly,
and guess what?
Just sheer vandalism.
Guess what the majority of the wine was?
Lambrusco?
Pinot Grigio.
Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio red or white?
It was white.
Oh.
Pinot Noir is the red one.
That's right, yeah.
There is not a red Pinot Grigio, is there?
No, it's not. No.
So why did you ask the question?
No, I didn't ask the question.
You just asked it.
I don't think I did.
Anyway, what I'm saying to you is I can now genuinely say to you that there will be a shortage of Pinot Grigio. Because he basically lost thousands and thousands and thousands of litres of it.
And that was just an act of vandalism,
Apparently so.
It doesn't say much for the security, does it, of the place? If people just come in and switch on the taps and it all flows away.
Damage is said to be worth something like €500,000, right?
Oh, that's terrible.
And the local countess who manages the family winery is called Ottavia Giorgi di Vistarino.
It's really terrible.
Says that there's some kind of... In fact, there's a picture of her here.
Yeah.
I think you might quite like that. Mm-hmm. So police are investigating fraud and bribery in the area.
Yeah,
where apparently, now you won't like this, right?
Yeah.
Where some producers are accused of mixing the Pinot Grigio grape with less valuable varieties to increase production.
So it's a bit of a turf war, really, in fact.
Well, I mean, you never know, do you, down there?
No, you never
know. In that part of the world.
Listen,
it's a terrible waste.
A terrible waste, I agree. Now, this might sound mealy-mouthed because, one must show respect for the deceased and the dead, but an awful lot of fuss made of the death of A.A. Gill, the restaurant critic.
Well, funnily enough, a couple of people that I'm acquainted with from the journalistic profession were making the same suggestion on Facebook.
I mean, I find it remarkable.
His story was very tragic. I think that's
his story was very tragic. He died within a couple of months of being diagnosed with cancer, didn't he?
It was even less than that, as far as I'm aware.
5 weeks or something?
I mean, we first knew that he was suffering from cancer about 3 weeks ago, I think.
Right, OK.
And he wasn't a personal friend of mine. I'd met him once only.
Yeah.
I loved the way he wrote. I thought he did some great stuff.
Yeah. I thought some of it was rather mean-spirited and that sort of stuff.
Well, he was a critic.
Used a bit of bad language.
Well, I mean, he was a restaurant critic, and I'd rather be reading his than the man who should not be named.
Yes, indeed.
But, who really is a snide character.
But the point is, he had a double-page spread in the Times as an obituary.
Right.
I mean, crikey, double-page spreads in the Times.
He's a pretty well-known character.
Well, he's pretty well known, but he's a restaurant critic who wrote once a week.
No,
basically.
he wasn't just a restaurant critic. He was also an author.
He was a travel
he wrote
writer.
Travel articles. He'd also done some very, very interesting stuff.
But nevertheless, he was a journalist at the end of the day. Very few journalists get double-page spreads in the back of the Times.
That's true, but I mean, he was a larger-than-life figure. He's also formally married to the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, which gives it an extra kind of level of...
And for 10 years, he was a chronic alcoholic.
Yeah, well, lots of people have been chronic alcoholics.
And then came back from that. So I think
that's kind of, in a way, what makes him interesting.
Around about the same time, a chap called Philip Knightley died.
Yeah.
And Philip Knightley is a legendary Fleet Street figure.
Yeah.
So he's a journalist like A.A. Gill.
Yes.
A.A. Gill used to sit in restaurants and taste food and then write about it.
Yeah, but he didn't just do that, though. That's what I'm saying. I mean, that is the commonly held belief. But if you know A.A. Gill's writing properly, you'll know that he went to, for example, the Central African Republic and did an amazing piece. He went to the jungle in Calais and reviewed the food there, which ostensibly was not a food review. It was a piece about what was going on there.
OK, what I was going to say is Philip Knightley, who was an astonishingly good journalist with the Times over a number of years, was the man who brought the... what's it called? Thalidomide.
The what?
Thalidomide. Thalidomide, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thalidomide scandal to the public attention. And at the time of that happening, Harry Evans was the legendary editor of the Sunday Times. And, of course, it was a worldwide story which affected thousands of victims who had shocking disabilities.
Well, it also uncovered the kind of corporate culture, which was incredibly irresponsible.
It did, where they didn't care. And that was down to Philip Knightley.
Yeah, but he got a pretty decent sized obituary.
He got a page.
He didn't get a front page story about himself.
No.
But I think partly because, if you are the Sunday Times, and, we know some people there, right? You would say that A.A. Gill was very much... I mean, he was described by Martin Ivans, the editor, as very much the heart and soul of the paper.
Yes.
Because he kind of summed up in a way what the Sunday Times was all about.
Yeah, but in the end of the day...
And he died at a very young age, right?
55.
The issue was
tragically young.
The issue as well was about the fact that he couldn't get the cancer treatment on the NHS that might have prolonged his life.
Yeah.
Which is quite a big issue.
Yeah.
He'd only just revealed that he was suffering from cancer, and for him to die so suddenly after writing his last piece...
Yes.
I think it's warranted. And Philip Knightley, yes, got a good obituary, but he died at a much older age, didn't he?
Died at an older age, but he was a Times man. A.A. Gill, as far as I know, didn't write a lot for the Times, for the Sunday Times. I know there's sister paper and all that kind of stuff. But nevertheless, I thought it was a little bit over the top. And do you know the reason why? Because, of course, a guy like A.A. Gill, a restaurant critic for the Sunday Times, was very much in the political salons of metropolitan elite North London, wasn't he?
Yeah, but that's what you have against him, is that what you're saying?
No, I don't have anything against against him. I'm very sorry that he's died.
You are in many ways a puzzle, right? Because half of you wants to be part of that. No. And the other half so resents those who are.
No, I don't. No, there's no way in the world.
You're constantly trying to You're constantly grubbily trying to clamber up the ladder of social, elitism, aren't you?
Well, like when? When was the last time
all the time.
No, rubbish.
Constantly.
The fact that I said to you today, I saw a report which said that the best streets in Britain have loads of Mercedes parked in them. That got your
goat. You didn't say that to me.
I did.
No, you said it when we were doing a handover. You haven't mentioned it since.
That's what I'm saying.
Why don't you save it for tomorrow?
Well, I'm going to find the report.
That's the kind of thing that
ram that down your throat.
Well, you see, you turn nasty on me when I tell you the truth about it, because it's a petty bourgeois idea of yours, because you know that you're not welcome in those salons.
No.
You know that nobody wants to see you in those places.
I'm known as the man of the people. I'm known as that all the world over.
You're the same man of the people who said that I will pay top dollar for my cod, and the great unwashed can go without.
I didn't say that.
That's what you said.
I never said that.
You have said that. You said it just before the show started.
If I said that, that's a bit of a joke.
Oh, is it?
That's all. Don't worry about it.
Well, as long as you're just saying these things in jest. Yeah. Lots and lots of other tweets to read out. We haven't got time to get them all of them, I suppose. It's now the Willis Tower, says Leighton in West London, talking about that thing in Chicago.
Yes.
And Andy, I'm not sure about this. He said, I've just walked in on my wife who has just given birth to twins. Loving your show. Drugs, hormones, or just common sense? I don't know.
Wow. Just giving birth to twins? Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. Or two twins, as The Guardian called A.A. Gill's kids. Wrongly, as ever.
Really?
This is Talk Sport.
Look at the light! Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne podcast from the two mics. But
sounds a whopping great success.
Yeah.
I wish I'd been to see it.
Oh, really?
What sorts of exhibitions did you have in there?
We had waxwork models of footballers. Sorry, why did you find that amusing?
It's the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard. How have I never known about this?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps you never asked me before.
What else did they have apart from waxwork models?
It was the horse's rear which kept the crowd where they should have been. Do you see what I mean? The horse kept backing into them gently and nudging them away.
It sounds like a great idea on paper.
With his rear flanks, you see what I mean?
It doesn't sound like such a good idea.
So when we could only build half the horse, we said, well, should we build the front of the horse or the back of the horse?
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
You know those little protrusions on the top of a giraffe's head?
Yes.
What do you think they are?
They're horns.
No, they're not.